Good evening. Welcome to the June 22nd, 2026 Select Board meeting. All members are present. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Over the weekend, we lost retired Lieutenant Bob Larrabee. Robert proudly served his country in the U.S. Air Force from 1957 to 1961, stationed with the 99th Field Maintenance Squad, Strategic Air Command at Westover, Massachusetts. His service was recognized with the Good Conduct Medal Award on December 5th, 1960, a reflection of his dedication and integrity. After his military service, Bob, as we would know Robert to be, his name Bob, dedicated 30 years to the town of Wilmington as a police officer, rising through the ranks from patrolman to canine officer to sergeant, lieutenant. He retired in 1998, leaving behind a legacy of bravery, commitment, and community service. On behalf of the town of Wilmington and on behalf of my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen, I extend to his family our sincere condolences, and I would ask us all to have a moment of silence at this time. Thank you. Okay, number 2 on the agenda, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion by Mr.
Second.
Palmer, second by Mr. Girwa. Any discussion? All those in favor? And it's unanimous. There are no approval of minutes this evening, and we're going to jump right into our appointments. Our 7 o'clock appointment with Kolyan Kwarzi. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. From Peters Pizza Sub Shop. No one here? Okay, he's looking for a common victualler license. And it's located at 2 Lowell Street, Unit 10. I don't think you need to be here, right? It's
It's not necessary.
not necessary. How? Okay.
Mr. Chair, we have a positive recommendation from the Board of Health. I recommend the approval of the common victular license. And then we have a positive from the Inspector of Buildings. I recommend approval of the common victular license.
And we have all the applicable information that we received. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Maselli, seconded by Mr. De Palma to approve the license.
I just have one bit of
Discussion, yes.
Please, Mr. Chair. The only question I had, and I was hoping that the person would be here, it says that they checked off 2. It says, I'm a sole proprietor or partnership and have no employees working for me in any capacity. It just seems a little unusual that they're open from 11 to 9 every day, and this person's the only person. Just, again, if we want to approve it, that's fine, but it just,
I don't have a problem with tabling it if you want until he comes in to answer the question.
I mean, I hate to table for a month.
Okay.
Yeah, he had to file something.
Okay. Again, Mr. Chairman, I have no qualms approving the license, but it just seems a little odd to me that he's literally the only person in the shop at all times. But
Okay. And it was done this way before you signed it?
okay.
Okay, if you don't
All
want
set.
to table,
Nope,
we'll go
no.
with the vote to approve. All those in favor? And it's unanimous. Our second appointment is Christine Reedy from the Wilmington Farmers Market, requesting a one-day liquor license for a farm to fork celebration at the senior center.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Tara. Thank you. So the Wilmington Farmers Market is collaborating with the senior center for a Farm to Fork celebration on August 29th. It'll be held at the senior center. The doors open at 6 p.m. We will have, Noel is on the video with us today. He will be our bartender, and he is ServSafe alcohol certified through 2025 through 2028. We'll be serving alcohol from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. will be the last call, and we'll close at 9:30. We're going to have a total of up to 250 people. The max number of drinks per person would be 3 over that time period. And Terry spoke with the chief about whether or not we needed a detail to be present at the event, and it sounded like he was going to review the bylaws to see if we needed to have one. If he comes back and says that we do, we will.
Does anybody have any questions?
Mr.
So,
Chair,
yes.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear what you were saying about, do they need an officer there during the,
I think the question was, it's in front of the chief, and they're gonna do whatever the chief says, either yes or no.
okay.
Who's gonna research that? So farm to fork, it says, so what are you serving? It's on the menu.
Yeah, so one of our board members is a chef, and he is going to be preparing mostly appetizers and hors d'oeuvres using ingredients that come from our vendors. Nice.
And is there a charge?
There are going to be tickets that are used to purchase. That's part of the fundraising. You can purchase tickets just to have food or to buy food and alcohol. So that'll be done through ticketing.
Where would that be done? At the farmer's market on Sundays, or?
So you can buy the tickets ahead of time online. The senior center is going to have some tickets at a reduced price that are available only on premises.
Does anybody have any additional questions?
Just one comment. It was just, is this a fundraiser for the farmer's market? Is that the?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve this request?
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day liquor license.
Motion by Mr. Gerwas, seconded by Mr. West. Any further discussion? All those in favor? And it's unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're at our 7:10, we're 1 minute fast, it's 7:09, but I'm not going to delay it for 1 minute. So we have, our next is a presentation from the police department on e-bikes and scooter safety. I see our chief is here, and some members of the department. So if you come up, Chief Pupil, you can introduce everybody for us.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for having us today to discuss this important topic. As we head into the summer season, we've seen it in the spring, there's been an uptick in e-bike activity, not just here in this community, but throughout the Commonwealth. And there's a lot of questions that the citizens have in regards to e-bikes, the safety of them, operation of them. And with me tonight, I brought our traffic safety officer, Michael DiLorenzo, and our day shift sergeant, Dan Furbush, who are going to discuss a little bit about the rules, the laws, and kind of what we're seeing here in the community with e-bikes. Thank you.
Good evening. So I will start with, I'm going to cover some of the information pertaining to Mass General laws in the operation of e-bikes. I'd like to give a brief little caveat that the laws are definitely behind the technology that these bikes have. So enforcement in some of this has been somewhat challenging, but we'll go over some of the laws that are on the book currently, and how we can enforce this. So the Mass General laws categorize an e-bike as the following: a bicycle or a tricycle equipped with a fully operational set of pedals, an electric motor that has 750 watts or less of power output. So there's two classifications within that. Classification 1 is saying that the bicycle provides power only when the operator is pedaling the bicycle, and it cannot exceed 20 miles an hour. Class number 2 is saying that the bicycle can provide power with or without pedaling, which is what we're seeing most often than not, that the kids are removing the pedals from these bikes and then they're just driving them around with the motor. However, e-bike motors can only get the e-bike up to 20 miles per hour. Any speed higher than 20 has to come directly from manual pedaling. So if you're getting them at 25, 26 miles an hour, that can be achieved from obviously downhill or manual pedaling input. Registration is not currently required. Under the enforcement piece, so Mass General Laws, Chapter 85, Section 11B, 3 3/4, requires that e-bike riders abide by all the laws that govern regular bicycles. For example, they have to abide by the equipment laws. So basically, at night, they have to have reflectors, they have to have headlights. Moving violations, they have to stop at red lights, they have to make sure they're not failing to yield to motor vehicles. The fine for all of these violations are $20 per offense, per violation. Helmet violations are also able to be written. However, Massachusetts does not allow us to issue a fine for a helmet violation. They would prefer that the person uses those funds to purchase a helmet. So we can issue a citation for it, however, there is no monetary fine for it. Pertaining to arrest, obviously this is a super severe reaction, but e-bike riders are only arrestable if they fail to provide their name and address to a police officer. All the other offenses are $20. So once they provide their information, they would no longer be arrestable, but that is an arrestable offense, basically out of all the laws that are on the books. Access, so basically meaning where can e-bikes operate? E-bikes are allowed to operate within bike lanes, they're allowed to operate within the travel lanes. However, the law does state they are not allowed to operate on sidewalks. That piece, personally, from our enforcement piece, I think it's a double-edged sword. I'm trying to decipher, do we want 12-year-olds riding 20-mile-an-hour bicycles in travel lanes, or do we want them on the sidewalk? We're kind of internally trying to figure out what the best course of action is, working with the SROs, school resource officers, to kind of find a best practice. But the law does state they are not allowed to ride on sidewalks, specifically as well within business districts. So that would be like the Plaza, McDonald's, stuff like that. The law does allow us to impound bicycles and e-bikes. It does come with explicit permission from the supervisor. So for us, that would be the police sergeant or the officer in charge, as well as the person would have to be under 18 years old. So if the person's under 18 years old and they have any bicycle violation that was committed, the police can impound the bicycle for up to 15 days. Ultimately, we would prefer to have a parent come down and have a conversation. That's kind of how we've been approaching it in the past couple of weeks. We actually had an incident today where that happened. Parents come down, we advise them of the laws, we let them know, hey, there's no pedals on this bike, or you're not meeting the safety requirements for the bike, so it can't be on the roadway. That's the better route, but we do have the option to impound if we needed to. Briefly touch on some stats, and I'll turn it over to Sergeant Furbush. So e-bike and bicycle violation tracking within our internal system, it hasn't been an issue until recently. So we didn't have a specific call category for e-bikes or bicycles. So we went back and tried to track down all of our calls in 2026 that have come from bicycles or e-bikes, basically creating a call for service. We have since created the category, but so far we have tracked down that there have been 39 calls for service in 2026 related specifically to bicycles or e-bikes, whether it be erratic operation, property damage, driving in the street. Sergeant Furbush will touch on that. And in 2026 alone, we have had 6 motor vehicle crashes involving bicycles or e-bikes. At this point, I'll turn it over to Sergeant Furbush.
Okay. So I'm in charge of the day watch, which is 8 to 4, but this also has issues with the 4 to 12, the evening shift. Especially as the summer goes on, we're noticing a lot of problems, like now the school's out, but when school was in session, these kids would be riding these bikes to school, and then when school gets out, what ends up happening is we get this huge gaggle of kids that all leave at once, and the first places that they go to is either Yentl Park or they go to the plazas. And then what ends up happening is they end up causing chaos down at either spots that I just mentioned. At Yentl's, they're driving through the sidewalks. They are disturbing the families with the kids on the swing sets. They're driving on the fields. We're getting calls and complaints on that. Down at the plazas and on Main Street, we're having issues with children riding on sidewalks. They are zigzagging and driving through the travel lanes of the plazas, so it's disturbing the customer base down there. They're hanging out at Chipotle now, because that's a nice new spot to eat. McDonald's is a big spot for them to hang out. Cumberland Farms, the businesses are trying to talk to the children, and the response is typically they're getting middle fingers, they're getting sworn at, they're like riding around the complexes, disturbing the businesses, which now triggers a response. They call the police, and we have to go and try to initiate. Sometimes the kids are doing pretty good. They'll listen to us. Others will try to take off. We try not to pursue, because obviously our goal is safety. We don't want to cause them harm. But it is getting to be an increasing problem now that the summer is here, that these kids are going everywhere. And I guess from the police point of view, from the day shift, the 4 to 12 shift, what we're looking for is a little more accountability and responsibility on the parents as well. Some parents are really good when we call them. They will come down and deal with the situation. Others aren't. But I think it's very important that we work as a team with the community, the police department, the town, but the residents as well. And we do need help from the residents, and that is to educate their children on some of the things like Officer DiLorenzo had mentioned. A little more supervision of their children when they're out and about. The problem is these kids group up into 20, 30 kids. They're riding down the middle of Main Street. They're riding down, actually Officer DiLorenzo saw a group while driving up Richmond Street in the middle of the road. This kind of behavior we're not going to accept, but we would like to have the parents, because maybe some of the kids don't know that you shouldn't be driving on the sidewalk. Maybe you shouldn't be hanging out. But we are asking for the public's cooperation as well. Try to explain to their children the rules of the road. We're going to be out there trying to educate the kids. We especially during the daytime, it's beautiful out now. Put more guys out of the car, maybe out on foot patrol, interacting with these kids, and try to educate on the laws, what we would like. But on behalf of the businesses and the townspeople, obviously, we would like the parents to kind of help us out as well and make sure that they're going through the problems that we just discussed, and hopefully kind of educating their children on what not to do. It's definitely going to be a team effort to try to get this problem helped out. Hopefully, the laws will catch up at some point, but I think it's really important that, we communicate this to the public as well, that we would like to have their help in this as well.
Thank you.
No, I was going to, Sergeant Furbish hit it well out, that we need the cooperation of the parents. They think they're helping their child by purchasing these. Some of the ages we're seeing are certainly, they're not capable of really understanding the rules of the road, and we don't want to see anyone get hurt. That's the last thing any of us want to see. We're seeing these crashes, like the sergeant said, vehicles trying to exit Market Basket, vehicles coming out of roadways, vehicles coming out of their driveway, and they don't see these e-bikes coming. The other thing is, once these e-bikes get over 20 miles an hour, they essentially become motorized scooters or mopeds, which you need to be 16 years old to operate here in the Commonwealth. So, once, if it's going over 20 miles an hour, and a lot of these e-bikes, these little e-motorcycles clearly do, then it becomes, you need to be 16 years old to operate this. And I guess the final thing I will say, as I see the 4th of July stuff being set up, is there is no place this week, for e-bikes down at this event on the fun on the 4th. So if kids are thinking of riding their e-bikes down here, they should choose a different method to get here. So,
That's a good point. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, gentlemen. You know, you see this on the news almost every other night. I think that there was an e-bike accident in Haverhill maybe 2-3 nights ago where the person passed away. It's just, it's crazy. Register, they don't have to register these bikes that go 20 miles an hour?
Not yet.
Yeah, like the chief said, if it's under 20 miles an hour, they don't have that stipulation. But if you get over 20 miles an hour, preferably over, usually around 30, you're looking at a moped, which, as the chief stated, you're now getting into a realm where you need you need an active driver's license. You need to register the moped. And I think that's the biggest discrepancy here, is these bikes are going very fast. One example, I'll leave you with this. We had on radar, I had one going 52 miles an hour down to 62 Burlington Ave a couple weeks ago. Proceeded to take off on us. Ended up catching up with them and we addressed that. But we have had our fair share of, a couple of months ago, Sergeant Frobush actually and I were both working an evening shift. We had a group take off on us at Yentel Park. They drive in the middle of the road. They have zero disregard for traffic laws or any pedestrian safety that are walking. Friday alone, I worked a 4 to 12 shift. We had 3 calls for service this past Friday evening involving e-bikes. It's just getting worse and worse, and we're just asking for the cooperation of the parents. I'm happy to provide any information I can to the parents. We're happy to put on anything at the police department, answer questions. I just think it's a lack of knowledge. And the biggest thing we're seeing, like I said, is those pedals. Needs to have functional pedals, and 90% of them on the road right now do not.
How do they soup them up to get that fat? They take the pedals off? Are they?
You can, so some of the bikes are able to have the pedals removed, and it just turns into like foot rests. But you can change the batteries on them. You can buy them that way. So if they're buying them from China, and they can come with battery packs well over 1,000 kilowatts an hour. And like I said, 52 miles an hour, didn't even have pedals. Yeah, they're fast. So I think it's just it's a lack of information, but we're happy to provide information as needed.
I was happy growing up with one of those banana bikes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
my Huffy.
My colleagues had a question.
Yeah, so obviously we're subject to Massachusetts laws and there's a bunch of proposals out there, but I guess my only question is there anything we can do on the local level to try to address this for you guys?
I've seen some bylaws with like impoundment rules. There is a possibility we could look at some of those rules where, and we're, trying to track, we're logging the names of individuals we're encountering. So if they're a repeat offender with problematic operation, those are going to be impounded, those e-bikes. But there could be, something where we could look at bylaws possibly to see if there's a way to restrict kind of that operate to endanger issue.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, a couple of quick questions. First of all, thank you for everything you guys do day and night to help our community, so appreciate that. Just kind of curious, I know it's a little late, obviously school's out this year, but is it possible maybe next spring to, go to the schools and have assemblies or something like that, or be part of an assembly to talk to the kids directly and just say, look, these are the rules and regs, and, hopefully, again, using the word education, might not be a bad thought,
So earlier this spring, we did have a meeting with our SROs, our traffic officer, and some of the command staff. And that was the message. The SROs have been working within the schools to get this information out to the students, letting them know that, the safe way to operate the scooters, or I should say the e-bikes, and that the police department will be, taking enforcement activities if we see dangerous activity. But through the SROs, but, certainly in September, with the new school year, we would certainly be open to doing a informative.
And the other thing I'm wondering, like you guys had mentioned about, they're not welcome at the 4th of July festivities. I'm just thinking, I don't know if there's any way that we, as a board, when we do the 4th of July permit next year, if there's any enforcement that we as a board have with the permit. I don't know if that's legal or warranted or whatever, but just to be able to say, look, as part of your permit, we don't want e-bikes within a half mile or whatever of the common. Again, I don't know how we
I don't
do
know how
that.
you could enforce it.
Yeah, but it'd be enforced through the
Yeah,
police.
it's not their
And our
fault.
concern, obviously, with
Good
e-bikes
thought.
is them
Yeah, it's not
coming
the
down the
sports
roadway
committee.
here in front, that's gonna be
Right.
closed down. Coming onto the common with them.
Yeah, because yourself, there's going to be people all over the place, everybody's going to be on their phones, looking at the carnival rides and not really paying attention to what's necessarily what their surroundings are.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I have is that, now, I believe those e-bikes can also be modified so that they can go faster than 20. Like you said, you had one clocked at 52 going downhill, I get it, but I think also they can be modified just for general street traffic to go beyond 20 miles.
Correct.
And at that point, they are now a motorized vehicle, so to speak, and subject to the, licensed driver, registered and all that stuff. But so I was just curious how that all works.
Yeah, simple modifications that, anybody can go onto YouTube and find these modifications for these bikes. And it's a very simple process, and very accessible to learn how to alter these e-bikes.
And I appreciate you guys coming out and giving us education on the laws. And is there, I guess the last thing from my standpoint, is there anything we can do or the town can do to, or is this something strictly a state thing that maybe we need to contact our state reps and?
Well, like the chief said, it's definitely there may be some options with bylaws, but much like with cell phones, Apple Watches, all this new technology comes out, and then Massachusetts seems to be like 5 years behind. And then eventually we get stuff, but by the time the stuff comes out, they have this new technology that comes in that supersedes what they have. So unfortunately, some of this is just a waiting game. Some of this is just the police department in general, with the support of the town, trying to come up with ways to enforce this until the law catches up. Like you said, even when they're modifying vehicles, sometimes the law doesn't even recognize that because now it fits in between this and this. Well, and it is a tough thing. We see this across with many laws, not just necessarily e-bike, but it's something that, if we could get support on a state level to try to help push this stuff. And I think, unfortunately, seeing these pedestrian accidents involving e-bikes, motor vehicle accidents involving e-bikes, like that incident you guys mentioned earlier with the fatality, those kind of stuff help raise bring it to like the state level and kind of help push these laws through, but it also requires support here within our communities to go to the state level and be like, this is a problem that needs to be addressed before anything like that. Because obviously what happened at that time, we definitely do not want here. We've had a couple of close calls, but it is definitely something on a state level that needs to kind of get pushed.
Because if there's anything that we can do here, or, either voting, enacting a bylaw through town meeting, or, whatever, or pushing things through the state, I mean, we're all ears, at least I am. I think I speak for the board on that, but.
Yeah, what I would say, well, we appreciate the opportunity to come in front of the board, try to educate the community, kind of let them know what we're seeing. I believe there is some bills being filed. I know the Senator Feingold has supported kind of a restrictive bill. I also want to say that we're not completely against e-bikes. For the appropriate level, there is a legitimate use for e-bikes in the community. For the appropriate age level, who can handle, understands the rules of the road, operating safely. We're just, want help from the parents with these young kids who really don't understand the rules of the road. They have that safety awareness that we're looking for to help in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. DePalma.
Thank you. As far as modifications on these things, that's inevitable. It's like when I was young, it was souping up a car. Taking that 6-cylinder and putting a big V8 in it and everything else. I think that we have to get stricter. I know I have spoken to Senator Feingold and Representative Robinson on this issue. I see death. I hate to say it like that, but I see a lot more coming, especially this summer. These kids, I almost said it and caught myself doing it. It's not all kids. The trouble is, what does the media see? Only the bad. They don't commend the ones that are doing the right job or doing it the right way. They just bad. And parents have to be more responsible. We have to, if we're going to let these children ride these things, we're going to have accountability from the parents. I was going to suggest that you put out on social media all the rules and regulations, but what's that really going to do? When the mother is sitting there crying because her son got killed because he was driving his e-bike around. I see these. I've driven down 38, and I'm looking, saying, what's coming towards me? And there's 4 or 5 of them right down the middle of the street. And all I'm thinking is, God forbid something happened, I'm going to be responsible. Because they're going to say, he was just a poor kid. We have to enforce it stronger. We've got to make sure that we commend the ones that are doing it right. I see so many of them without helmets on. I see so many of them that they have no respect for the traffic laws at all. And we can't expect the police to be at every corner, on every street, whenever this happens. And when you get a call and the cruise is all going that way, they're already gone. They see you later, bye. You don't know the way they're going to go. So we have to be stricter. I don't know if there's some kind of, even a tag that we can set up on a bylaw where they come in and they have their bikes inspected. They also have to take a safety course. I remember when they pushed on bicycles, safety course. But when they do it, they should have a responsible adult with them, so the adult also knows that these are the rules. And if your child violates these rules, there's consequences with everything. And they're gonna get hit with the consequence. And if it means, as I've heard you say, you have impounded e-bikes, but these kids go right back out on them. And, daddy feels bad for him, so he goes and buys him another one. Or Billy says to Dad, Johnny's got one that goes 30 miles an hour. I don't. We've got to crack down on it before it's too late. And I thank you. I hear you guys out there when these calls come in, but you can't be everywhere. And, I pity the family that you have to go notify that their son or daughter was killed because they were riding their e-bikes wrong.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. Is there an age limit on these, minimum age that they have to be? Or is it just anybody, like an 8-year-old can have one?
Yeah, the way I read the law, there's no age limit. I mean, there is the restriction of under 16 has to wear, 16 or under have to wear a helmet.
Yeah.
But outside of that,
Yeah.
the only realm to your modification piece slightly would just be that if you modify it to a point where the bike's traveling at 52 miles an hour for that specific case, we actually filed motor vehicle criminal charges for that case. So for parents listening, I would just say that it's not impossible to receive criminal charges for this.
Good.
That's not our intent. We don't want to charge a juvenile.
Yeah.
But if we have behavior that's turning into it's getting reckless enough, it is an option, especially if the bike's traveling at motor vehicle speeds.
Yeah.
Because for all intents and purposes, it's an electric motorcycle at that
Yeah,
point.
for
So,
sure. Just because I'm not familiar, I assume that the brakes are on the handlebars for these bikes?
I think they
Or they-
differ. I think some of them have the foot pedal, but for the most part, they are still the front and rear and the handlebars, correct?
Yeah, which obviously can cause, well, I mean, any brake could flip them over the handlebars, but going at an excessive speed, obviously, that's an even bigger recipe for disaster, if they were.
Some of these calls for service actually pertain to motorists that are passing by, seeing a child fall off the bike and
Yeah.
calling us.
Yeah,
So some of that has nothing to do with a motor vehicle accident, it's just that they do the wrong thing, or
Yeah, they just
hit a bump in the sidewalk and lose control.
right, okay. No, thank you, I appreciate all you're doing, and I think, I agree 100% education for the parents. I mean, I think it's a good idea to educate the kids. Kids are kids, they're gonna listen, and, some may take it to heart and some may not, but, and same with parents, let's face it, but I think, you're doing the right thing, trying to educate, the kids and parents, and I don't know if it's worth, just going off what Mr. West's suggestion was on having, something at the schools, maybe especially in the younger grades, maybe a flyer, or, something to actually get in the parents' hands. I don't know, but just to throw that out there as a possible idea, but, yeah, just,
We'll do the email blast. to parents.
email blast, there you go, save paper, yeah.
Bypass the kids, have them take that.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, the younger grades will, like, the parents will either go through or they'll hand it, but then you get to a certain age and the parents, they,
Never
you know.
seen
So an email blast to parents, that's actually a great idea with just, hey, here are the rules and regulations, maybe some facts in there that might, show them that these could be dangerous, but I don't know. But you're doing a great job and I appreciate it. And it's a scary time for sure. Like, I worry about the kids and, I was driving, I picked up my son from school, driving home. We were right in front of Nichols, 2 lanes, and 2 kids on the e-bikes got between the cars. They're talking to the kid in the truck next to us, just hanging in the window. I'm like, I was panicking, you know what I mean? I'm like, this is, I'm just worried, so. But thank you.
Thank you. And it's never too late to do an e-blast, it's just,
Yeah.
No, absolutely, we'll work.
That's a
I'll
great
talk to the
idea.
chief and talk to the superintendent. They have parents' emails, so we can maybe try to get something out before.
And since we have the 3 of you and we have a great public audience out there, does anybody have any comments or questions they would like? Sure. You just want to come to the microphone and state your name and address?
Michael Pelosi, 60 McDonald Road in Wilmington. And I think Select Person Maselli hit the nail on the head. E-bikes are motorized vehicles, as we understand it. Why isn't the town considering an ordinance to create a minimum age limit for children to ride the bikes? What would it take to do that?
I don't know,
That's a
something
good
that we
question.
Yeah, I mean, I think when there's a specific age limit in a statute, it becomes challenging for the town to do something different than the statutory age limit. But I don't know if any other towns have ever tried.
Yeah, we can certainly research that, and see if there's other communities here in Massachusetts that have been able to successfully put a bylaw like that together, and see if
It
that's.
seemed to make sense to me, just the way we regulate other motorized vehicles.
No, absolutely, and I think that's exactly as Officer DiLorenzo said, there is no age limit for those e-bikes.
Thank you. Anyone else? Comment? Yes. Your name and address, please, for the record.
Peter Ludik, 13-year inhabitant of Wilmington, originally Dutch, so kind of bike friendly. Sorry? I'm Dutch. Oh, you're also Dutch. Good for us. We're doing good, aren't we? I have 2 thoughts on this subject. One is bike exams for kids at the age of 8 to 10 somewhere. The school could teach them how to properly ride their bikes and take a morning exam over a limited route so that they can really get familiar with it. The second thing is, bike safety, and I'm talking bikes. I'm not talking about these motorized electrical vehicles that have nothing to do with health and stuff like that. But for the bikes, the critical thing is really sorry about that. Somebody's trying to disturb me. The critical thing is really bike infrastructure and having dedicated bike lanes for kids and older people to be able to bike around. I've been biking here since 2015 to work most of the time. Getting more and more dedicated bike lanes like we're doing in Boston and others will make cycling a lot safer than it is right now.
Thank you.
And that's something that this town certainly can continue to work on, because I've noticed, around some of the roads in the new intersections. We are creating these paths, so let's continue doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Peter Osterhaven, 454 Middlesex Ave. I actually wasn't going to talk, and by the way, I'm not being rude. I put these in to hear you guys better, so anyway. Yeah, I mean, this is a multi-layered issue, and these guys don't have the tools right now to deal with it as easily as it should be dealt with. Because, I mean, first of all, we're all getting tracked here on our phones. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind having some kind of geo-tracker on them to the point where, I know this will never fly in a million years, I know. But it would be great if, when these guys approached a bike, an electric bike, if it didn't have the tracker on it, they could, stop and have a conversation. And if the bikes would be, a couple points, registration of the bikes, better bike trails in Wilmington. I mean, I live in Middlesex Ave, so I see it. Kids just, I mean, like bat out of hell. I mean, they're just moving on Middlesex Ave. So, we could do just like they have in, I mean, they get more bikes in the canals in Amsterdam than they do on the street, because there's so many than we have here, you know what I mean, on the street. But like he said, we don't have the facilities or the political support to do the kind of bike trails we should have. But that said, we can maybe start dipping our toe into areas where we can have better bike paths, because, and honestly, I'm glad to see these kids on the sidewalks. I'd hate to see them on Middlesex Ave, driving down the street and, get clipped by a truck or whatever, then it's game over for them, So anyways, that's it. Just voice my support for what these guys are bringing up, and thank you for addressing this important issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Chief.
Okay, a 7:20 appointment. We're a little behind. Apologize for that, but this was important, this topic. Gabrielle Basu? I know you're not Gabrielle from our last meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Albizu will not be joining us this evening. Name is Alexander, last name Marrero, Marrero, employee of Pike, PIKE, Telecom Renewals LLC, an authorized contractor for Verizon New England Incorporated. This is basically a continuation of the public hearing. I don't know if you need to reopen it or not.
Oh, it was, I don't think we need to reopen because it was continued.
It was continued,
So
yeah.
we're now within the public hearing portion.
So to recap, Verizon is petitioning to relocate 4 poles located on Salem Street, numbers 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A. During the last hearing, several of the abutters had concerns about these relocations, specifically that the poles were moving towards their properties. And one of the abutters had a concern about a septic tank located near the property line. My understanding is that your town engineer already met with the abutters to discuss their concerns.
Do you mind if we bring forward the memorandum?
Sure.
The first memorandum regarding this issue? So, Mr. Chair, the memorandum to the board was to provide the board with an update regarding the concerns raised at the last public hearing about these particular four poles. As I mentioned in the memo, after our last public hearing, I met with Paul Looney, who is here if we have any questions. and Health Director Shelley Newhouse, specifically regarding the septic issue. And as it turns out, the neighbors had already spoken to Mr. Looney, the septic system issue was raised, and we together looked at the copy of the as-built plans for the septic system, as well as the copy of the plans for the pole movement that clearly indicate there's not going to be any impact on the septic system by the pole being moved. And indeed, Mr. Looney actually asked the engineer for the project to transcribe the as-built plans for the septic system onto the pole removal plans. So it's very clear that there's no impact between that septic system and those poles. And so that was I believe that was pole location number 4. In addition, Mr. Looney last week was out at the properties on June 16th to meet with all the property owners. I spoke to him afterwards. He indicated that those meetings went well and the property owners did understand where those poles were going to be located afterwards. And a further note, so these specific poles, I think we mentioned at the last public hearing, were a part of the Amazon required mitigation for the 800 Salem Street project as part of their road widening, and then eventually putting in new intersection lights at 93. And for the road widening project, because the work does need to be completed during this construction season, which means before November. So Verizon informed the parties that they will need at least 6 to 8 weeks for all the various wire owners to move their infrastructure to the new poles. And so no further construction can happen on that infrastructure project that we required Amazon to do until these poles are moved. So that was the memorandum to the board regarding this particular issue. But I think it makes sense to see if there are any other neighbors here.
Yeah, we'll go to the board first, but does Mr. Looney want to elaborate on any of that? I see our town engineer is here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think the town manager summed it up perfectly. I did meet with the 3 residents. I was there on their behalf. The representative that owns 800 Salem Street was there to discuss the intersection project and the road widening and some temporary access rights for the construction of each individual property owner. They had their engineer there as well. And as the town manager mentioned, I had them, actually prior to last meeting, I had them put the septic systems on their survey plan, existing condition survey plan, and superimpose the proposed conditions over it. So the poles and actually all public infrastructure for the project is all located in the public right of way of Salem Street. The reason for the meeting, not to digress from the Verizon petition, was just from the back edge of sidewalk, they need temporary access rights to just blend the grades between the back edge of sidewalk and their kind of front lawn area. And they're also talking through some tree trimming and vegetation individually with each resident. So I asked the applicant from 800 Salem Street to be present at all those meetings so that I can hear what's going on firsthand, advocate for the residents, if they're not comfortable to do so, or just be there to listen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask you a couple other questions, Paul, if you don't mind? Yeah. Excuse me. It was mentioned at the last meeting that it's going to be moved back 8 feet. Is that accurate?
The poles,
Curbing is going to go back 8 feet?
it'll vary because it's a lane taper. So the idea here is to, or the plan here is to add a dedicated left-hand lane on Woburn Street, close to the intersection. So the lane kind of tapers then, if you can picture it. So it's not a uniform, like 8 feet. It varies from the intersection And then as you head easterly, it starts to taper back in and meet the existing alignment of Salem Street.
And will any of the poles be put, and I'm assuming the sidewalk will be fixed again, right? Will any
Yeah.
of the poles be put on the sidewalk?
Yeah, that's a good question. If you can picture it, there's a grass strip there now, right?
I was just
So
there
the-
today again.
So essentially what's happening is the grass strip is going away to accommodate the lane widening. And the sidewalk is being replaced essentially in kind. I mean, we might be talking a foot or maybe less in some locations where it would, widen closer to the right-of-way line. So does that, I guess, answer your?
The poles are
Well,
going
the
to be.
poles.
are gonna be
Oh, in the
inside
sidewalk, oh, right,
The
right.
pole's gonna be
Yeah, so
on,
the poles would be,
On Woburn Street where I
correct.
live, there are poles. I don't even know how the plow gets around the poles.
So the poles would be located at the back of sidewalk, and each pole will provide for ADA compliance in the sidewalk. So like where they encroach into the sidewalk, they'll need to meet ADA from the front kind of face of that pole then to the curb line, which is, I think the minimum is 36 inches, and we typically say 42 just for safe measure. When VHB's the design engineer, when they were out there in the field, I did verify that with them, that they had checked for ADA compliance. We went to each pole location and literally stood on the spot and said, okay, yeah, it all seemed to work and not be an obstruction in the middle of the sidewalk.
Okay,
Yeah.
'cause that's my biggest
And it's a good question.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay. And then and this is probably for this gentleman here, double poles. Right now, there's a double pole that's there. So when you do the work, you're gonna put new poles in
Correct.
those 4 locations. Are you going to remove the old poles after you put the new poles in, or are they going to be double poled
They will be,
as they look on School Street in Middlesex Ave?
they will be removed as they will now be in the middle of the roadway, of the new, extended roadway.
Okay, so there will be no double poles there,
No.
as there is one now. So that means that all 3, Verizon, Comcast, and the Reading Municipal Light, will come together as a team and move all the wiring, and there'll be no double poles.
So that's why it's 6 to 8 weeks. Basically, each company will send their individual teams to move all their equipment from the old poles to the new poles. So that takes time. Each company usually takes about a week.
Because we're into the 8th month. Okay, you're telling me 6 to 8 weeks. But, let me see, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. We're in April, May, so yeah, we're about 9 months waiting for Comcast and Verizon and Reading Municipal Light to take care of the double poles on School Street, Middlesex Ave. And you're sitting here telling me that this is gonna be all done in 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks?
The
So
pole-
why is there such a big difference between one project and this project?
I can't answer that question, unfortunately. I don't know who is responsible for the School Street project.
I don't know. I probably can't vote for this until we get an answer to that question. Myself, I don't know about my colleagues. Yes?
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that I have been told is one of the reasons why double poles linger is because the utilities prioritize poles that impact projects as opposed to these poles out here which aren't impacting any projects, which is why they're at the back of the line. So they prioritize for something like this where it has to get out of the infrastructure way, and that means every time a new project comes up, a pole that doesn't impact a project gets kicked further back on the line. And that's what the way it's explained to me. I don't think that's a good explanation, because I think they should just be able to do it both. But that's how it's been explained to me, is that they prioritize ones that have active projects and where the poles are gonna impact the project.
Do you know when the double poles on School Street and Middlesex Ave will be taken care of?
I do not, because I don't know what state the poles are in. So, in my opinion, the delays are usually, there's some disconnect between the utilities, because when a pole needs to be removed and replaced, basically each utility has to notify each other to let them know that their work has been completed before somebody else can move in. So unless Verizon has been notified by the cable company, which is the second to last company to get off those poles, then we are basically stuck, essentially. We can't get off those poles. And the cable company has to wait for the town for the fire alarm system to be removed, and then the town has to wait for the electric to be moved. So if the poles are there and then the electric has been moved and then the fire alarm has been moved, then at that point it's the cable company that's holding it up. If the cable company has been moved, then at that point it's Verizon's responsibility to get off those poles.
Okay, so we still don't know what's going on there. I can
so-
just spin around on my chair.
I've had multiple calls to RMLD since our last public hearing. I know that Judy O'Connell also has contact with RMLD. RMLD has not heard back from Comcast about any kind of timing on those poles at School Street, and that includes up until today, when Peter Price at RMLD was reaching out to Comcast to try to get some sort of dates. But RMLD has not heard anything from Comcast.
Where is the gentleman from Verizon?
You
Why
mean
isn't he
Mr.
here tonight? This
Albizu?
Gabriel gentleman.
He is the director of the right-of-way department. He doesn't usually step out of his office.
Really?
I like the
Right-of-way
honesty
manager
anyway.
from Verizon. That's who we want to talk. I mean, I'm taking my frustrations out on you, so, but I'm smiling. So.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I wonder if we could, I know you've contacted them all, but is there anything we can do legally with Comcast to, make them, get on this? I wonder if that's something we can explore.
Yeah, one of the things I asked so the contact we've been using about this particular project, his name is Peter Price. He's the right-of-way, I believe he works at the right-of-way department for RMLD. He's a known entity, and we've worked with him in the town before. Dennis Kelly has worked with him. He has reached out to Comcast. He has actually reached out to Comcast to try to provide us with a government affairs contact with Comcast, unsuccessfully thus far. What I can do is I can try to reach out to, I haven't reached out to KP to see if they have any lines of communication with Comcast to try to at least get a phone number to contact, but I can certainly do that to try and
Maybe
facilitate
that's the
it.
next step, just to, it's ridiculous that it's, and I get it, they're pushing it down, but at some point,
I think the
it's-
most frustrating thing is that the poles out here are halfway done.
Yeah,
Comcast
right.
came out and did half of the poles
Right.
and then left without doing the other half.
Well, it just makes
so-
you feel like they forgot us. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's
they're-
just, it fell off someone's radar.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that hasn't happened.
They really don't care.
I mean, it's very frustrating. I know that our neighbor is here who has been very diligent about following up on this. And I know it's very frustrating to look out the windows and see this. We'll continue to reach out to the utilities. Reaching out to Verizon, they are very quick to say, we can't do anything until Comcast is gone. So,
Which, at least someone's been responsive. That's good.
and RMLD says, we're done, the town's done. It's clearly Comcast is halfway through that removal project.
Maybe we ask,
We don't really have, it's tough because they don't really have to come to us for any kind of permitting.
Yeah.
So we don't really have a hook. Maybe the next time we negotiate our cable agreement, we can
Well,
put
maybe we
the
talk to
penalty
cable.
clause in for double poles.
They send us the increases in.
Oh, the increase in their
cable,
fees,
quick to
yeah,
do
or
that.
Calls to
dropping
KP
channels.
wouldn't hurt, though, just to
Mr.
see
Giroux?
if they.
Tomorrow I will call KP and see if they have at least a contact
Yeah,
point to
just
try to get to Comcast.
Figure it out, yeah,
To try and, see if there's any way we can move it on that end.
thanks.
All right, for the sake of everyone here, let's refocus to what we're actually discussing.
Yes.
Right
yes.
now, these improvements are needed. It's gonna help with the north substation. I think it makes sense. I know you guys are worried about over here, but let's focus on this. So I'll make a motion to approve the Reading Municipal Light Department to relocate the 4 poles on Salem Street.
Do you not need to close the public hearing?
Oh, sorry.
first?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna, for the lack of second, we'll hold off on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. West.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want to hear
Yeah,
from the public
I'm-
first, and then
yeah,
we'll close it
yeah,
and go forward.
Did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, to the public. Yes. State your name and address for the record.
I'll be brief this time. Quick question. This is to the engineer, actually. There's been no discussion of of moving that wiring underground? Is that a possibility?
In this corridor,
Yeah.
probably not, because all the existing services for all homes are above, and I know that's a
Okay.
big challenge for.
Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else of the public that wishes to speak? Okay, I'll look for a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Giroux, second by Ms. Maselli. Any discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, so now we'll look for a motion on this project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Giroux, seconded by Mr. West.
Yep.
Oh, was it you?
Yeah.
Mr. De Palma, I'm sorry. Seconded by Mr. De Palma.
I'll get the next one, Gary, now.
Okay, any further discussion? No. All in favor? There's 4, opposed is 1. So it passes.
Okay, our
All
second one.
right, so now let's open up a public hearing for the second request. Your motion to open up public hearing?
So moved.
Second. By Ms. Pacelli, seconded by Mr. Palmer. Any discussion, all in favor? It's unanimous, the public hearing is now open, and the table is yours, sir.
Alexander Pike Telecom, Verizon contractor. Resident is petitioning to place one new pole to be number 2AS, relocated on the northern side of Salem Street, to be located in front of 430 Salem Street, approximately 13 feet from the existing pole 2A.
So this pole is going on the opposite side of the street,
In front of the
Right.
tavern.
in front of the tavern. There's not a pole there now, so this is a brand-new pole that's going up in front of the tavern.
Correct.
Why?
This pole is being requested in order to provide support for the new pole 2A, which is going to be across the street.
Who's requesting it?
Verizon in conjunction with Reading Municipal.
Whereabouts in front of the tavern is it going? Is it in front of the door, in front of the,
It would be on the public way, basically, behind the sidewalk. So there is no sidewalk on that side of the street, so
No,
basically it will be
no.
behind the curb, approximately a foot.
okay, my colleagues, any questions? Yes, Mr. Wondersen?
Yeah, what I'm wondering is that it looks like that's going to be visual. We didn't have a map here for this one, so I didn't get to see, but it looks like it's going to be in front of the carriage house, of which there's a driveway right there. That's the main entrance to the tavern, so I don't know how that is going to affect people coming in or out, especially out of the tavern, looking at traffic to the left.
I believe it's outside of the range of the driveway, based on the full plans, and I only know that because the town engineer gave me the high sign just a moment ago.
Yeah, because all I'm thinking is that, I'm down there a lot, and I'm just thinking driving out into the street and then having to look to the left for traffic, and you get the pole right in the way. I don't know if that's gonna be an issue.
No, according to my plans, the pole is gonna be on basically the grassy area behind the curb. So there's no driveway there.
No, what I'm saying, sir, is that if you're looking at your map here, to the left of the pole is the driveway to get in. It's like a Y. You got an entrance this way, an entrance this way, and then it goes straight back. I'm just,
So, Frank, if you don't mind,
yeah,
we're talking sight line, right? So when a car pulls in or pulls out, is that pole going to be in the way of that car coming out of that area? Because that's a possibility, where you're placing it.
It's 13 feet back.
Mr. Maloney, do you have a?
Yeah, I looked at the location, Thank you. Paul Maloney, Town Engineer. I went out into the field and checked this location. I didn't think there was going to be any obstruction for the driveway to the carriage house. It's located, do you know the white, I think it's a post and rail fence that extends along the frontage of the Hardin Tavern and into the wooded area. It's super close to the actual property line of where the fire substation is proposed. So it's a stride, I guess, that property line. But I didn't see, when I reviewed the location in the field, I didn't see any safety concerns with that new pole location.
Okay, so no issues, sight line, so if someone's pulling out and trying to look to the left, they're not gonna?
Yeah, it's.
And then if the fire department is trying to come out of their driveway, they're gonna be looking to the right? Should we look at this again? Because I'm a little leery.
I mean, it's up to the board. When I looked at it, I think it's open enough there, and it's going to be more open once the fire substation work starts with some vegetation clearing in that area, that I don't think it's going to be an impact to line of sight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have more questions?
no, is this something that, and again, I don't want to see if we can hold up a project over a pole, but I don't know if it's worth having us take a look. Like I said, we didn't have a map here. That was my concern.
Right, well,
We have
yeah, we got the.
Oh, there was a
Yeah,
map.
it's a map.
Okay, I guess I skipped over. But, I mean, I don't know, I guess we can support it if our engineer is saying that there's no issue, but like I say, it just bothers me that we're moving a pole across the street when we're talking about putting poles on that side of the street, so I don't know.
I think it's designed to be a support pole.
Exactly.
Because of the amount and the curve of the wires on the far side of the street would have a tendency to pull pole 2A towards the houses. So you put a support pole across the street to provide tension, so that pole, all the pressure isn't pulling that pole towards the house.
And will there be wires crossing or no?
Support wire across
So
the
there'd
street.
be wires crossing Salem Street?
There'd be a cable crossing,
Yeah,
yeah.
cables
So
crossing.
it's a support pole. So there won't be power on it.
That's where I was going, there's no power, but there'll be support poles. to
That was
support-
my understanding when I talked to the engineer at RMLD. I reviewed this pole location with RMLD because I had some questions as well. And I also had VHB, again, the engineer that is working on the intersection design project, put the pole on their plan as well. And that, looking at that planimetrically is how engineers would determine the impacts to line of sight and things like that. So when I'm out in the field, I start looking at things like that planimetrically sometimes don't reveal themselves, like topography, grade changes, things like that. Is there a blind spot in the road? It's kind of a multifactorial process there we go through when we're looking at these poll petitions.
Okay. And that'll be plenty high, so we wouldn't have to worry about anything hitting at trucks or
Yeah,
high
there's
fire
clearance.
engines that we're gonna be having with the ladders and.
Yeah, there's clearances that, vertical clearances that they'll have to abide by, and RMLD is really good at making sure that their infrastructure is vertically in the right spot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm fine if Paul thinks it's, if he okayed it, I don't see any reason not to approve it. I mean, he did his due diligence.
No, I support Paul with his recommendation on this.
Oh, Paul, I put you on the hot seat because the town manager told me.
My fault.
I did hear that.
I have the next appointment, so I might just sit here and wait.
Okay, out to the public, are there any comments, questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
By Mr. West, seconded by Mr. De Palma, all in favor? Okay. Now we'll take a motion, so this is not a double poll, so that's a good thing.
That poll will be removed.
Might actually be able to support this.
That poll's not being removed.
No, it's not.
No, it's
This
a
is
brand new
original
one.
It's a
poll.
brand new one.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a motion to add this single pole in front of the tavern?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Palmer, seconded by Mr. Garowa. Any further discussion? All in favor? And it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Don't go far.
You can just stay, yeah.
Oh, no, see, Paul, your name's not on it, it's Jamie.
Yeah.
I know, I'm stealing the spotlight from him for this.
Okay, we're into 7:40 appointment, and DPW Director Jamie McGaldy is up to bat.
If I could-
Evening, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no, I was just going to provide some context. So folks who are watching at home, I'm sure Jamie was about to do this, but one of the things that came up as part of the new elementary school project was some off-site traffic concerns. As folks who paid attention to the school building committee have been aware, the MSBA does not deal with traffic issues that are off-site, and therefore those traffic issues kind of devolve to the town to evaluate and react to. And I think the critical point to note about the traffic issues that I think Jamie and his team are going to talk about today is that these are traffic issues that have been on the town's radar and were already on the town's plans to respond to. We merely accelerated them in the timeline so that the work could be done prior to the school. But this was work and improvements that already needed to happen, and so the school just accelerated the process. So I'm sorry, Jamie, to step on you.
Thanks, Eric. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Since Paul has already warmed up and has been doing a great job, I'm going to hand it over to him to introduce the concepts.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Again, Paul Aluni, town engineer. The gentleman to my right is Stefan Zaitz. He's the town's traffic consultant with VAI. And of course, we're joined here this evening also by Director of Public Works, Jamie McGaldy. And as the town manager stated, we are here to discuss traffic improvements in North Wilmington proposed to offset the expected increase in traffic from the new elementary school. We do have a brief presentation for you this evening. I'm going to provide some background information before handing the microphone here to Stefan to talk through some of the proposed improvements. Before, though, diving into the slides, I just want to note one thing quickly for the board, that there is no vote needed from the board tonight for this discussion. It's really for informational purposes only. We recently completed
the concept phase, and before heading into the design development phase, we thought now would be a good time to solicit feedback from not only the board, but from the community as well. So starting tomorrow, we are going to open up a 3-week public comment period. And the last slide will provide the details to the public and the board on kind of how and where to submit those comments. Lastly, before we get into the slides, I just want to say we did review these concept plans with Community Development Technical Review Committee, and we reviewed them with police and fire. And we did receive some minor comments from the various department heads and public safety, but my takeaway, and I certainly don't want to speak for any department head, but my takeaway was I do believe that we have their support to advance these concepts to design and construction. So just a quick recap here of the school project timeline and some background information. In fall of 2025, the town approved funding for replacing the North Intermediate School with a new elementary school. And the plan is to consolidate the Woburn Street School, Wildwood Street School, and North Intermediate School into one elementary school. So essentially replacing the 4th and 5th grade school with a new elementary school for pre-K through 5th grade. Construction's expected to start this summer and be ready for, hopefully be ready for the 28-29 school year. This is a slide with the projected or expected increases in traffic from the new school. Again, it's at the existing North Intermediate School site. So what I want to direct your attention here is to this bottom line on the table. And this represents the net increase in students and the resulting daily traffic increases from the school itself. So there's 605 more students, resulting in over 1,300 cars per day. We have an AM or morning hour peak traffic increase of about 381 vehicles and 173 in the afternoon and evening commuter hours. The bus trips actually stay the same because there's no net increase in that because the buses currently serve both the Woburn Street School and the North Intermediate School. So this is a slide showing the corridor that we focused on. So up here at the north of the page is the existing North Intermediate School. And what the traffic study showed was the distribution is about 95% of the cars are actually coming from the south. So we focused primarily on the Salem Street and Middlesex Ave corridor south to the Route 62 and High Street intersection. And I highlighted these two intersections here because that's where our primary focus was. We wanted to improve safety and operations at the Salem and Middlesex Ave intersection, as well as the Route 62 and High Street intersection. And as the town manager mentioned, the corridor's already stressed, which I'm sure you've all observed, depending on the day or time. There is queuing now on the road. So these improvements we think would have been necessary in the 5 to 10 year range, in 2031, 2032, and that time frame. But we just, of course, moved them to the front burner with a new elementary school now in the pipeline. Our secondary focus was at the Salem Street and Cunningham Street intersection. What we see here is in the afternoon and evening commuter hours, you'll see some queuing on Salem Street, and it's essentially from cars looking to turn left from Salem Street onto Cunningham Street and waiting for that gap in traffic where it's a single lane in each direction. You'll see queuing going back some afternoons all the way to the railroad tracks, and so it can get pretty heavy at times. We looked at First, did it pass the warrant for signalization, which it did not meet that warrant. So signalization is not on the table at this point. Second, what I wanted VAI to look at was whether it would pass the warrant for a left turn pocket. Get cars off of the main drag, put them in a left-hand storage lane to allow traffic to go through. But what was revealed during that exercise was that actually created a line of sight issue and a significant safety concern in implementing a left-hand turn lane, and we would never sacrifice safety for operations on that front. So what we're limited to here at this intersection is mainly sight distance improvements. Speaking of utility poles, it's a hot topic. There is a very ill-placed utility pole pretty much right where my laser pointer is now. And there's also some vegetation in the public right-of-way. You can actually see it in this aerial around this bend in the curve that would improve sight distance at this intersection. And we feel that in just doing those sight distance improvements alone will improve flow and certainly safety at that intersection. So again, no geometric improvements are proposed at this intersection. So really our main focus is going to be on the two intersections now that Stefan is going to review with you. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Stefan Zaitz from Vanassen Associates, engineering consulting firm out of Andover, Mass. In the slides that we have prepared, what we wanted to do is kind of highlight, this is kind of fresh for us. We have not looked at these intersections before. So kind of getting a fresh new set of eyes to say, what are kind of some of our key issues and things that we should be addressing as part of a redesign. As you know, and I'm sure many of you drive it, right, there's quite a big congestion issue. If I go back two slides here, a big thing that we saw in the traffic counts is that it's really a high commuter traffic road. What happens is you have a lot of drivers coming down Salem Street, going on Middlesex Ave and trying to take a left to go up to I-93. Likewise, the same way in the evening as people are trying to go away from 93. So that's kind of a key point to know, is that our issues are kind of our left-turning vehicles out of Middlesex Ave. And how would we kind of optimize that to make sure that they're moving well? Another thing that looking at it, and as part of our conceptual alternatives look through this, we spent, the morning times and the evening times out here. We sat and we watched it. Obviously, I saw the queues go back all the way to the Salem Street and Middlesex Ave intersection in the morning, right? And that was even before the school was being opened. That was just commuting. Another thing that we noticed is that right turn lane is only a right turn lane that is pretty short. I'd say about 80 feet. And in the morning, it's not used because majority of these people are either taking a left or they're waiting to go through. So you have just a really long queue, a lot of frustration, and then you see people start driving on the sidewalks and going around. So another big issue there, and then just from the safety perspective of this intersection, it is not inviting to walk. As you can see, the crosswalks look pretty long. The longest crosswalk is about 110 feet. If you're looking at ADA standards, you would be looking at having a pedestrian phase for over 30 seconds, all traffic stopped. So as part of that, we want to see how do we close that gap, how to maybe tighten that up. And lastly, of course, there's the antiquated traffic signal equipment. The equipment itself has been there since this road was reconstructed, likely part of 93, and this road, Middlesex Ave, actually came through here before the signal was put in place. So taking all those key issues and things that we noticed, this is kind of what has helped drive us in our redesign of this intersection. We looked at two possible alternatives, and this is kind of our preferred alternative, where we do a lane widening of Middlesex Ave. One topic I talked about here is about the lane configuration. With this new configuration of a left-only turn lane, we can now have a protected phase here where you are no longer yielding to traffic to make a left turn. That in itself adds a huge benefit to traffic, knowing that you can have 30 seconds and people can go left and not have to worry about, right now as vehicles make another left or through. With that, in the lane configuration, right now in the morning, there's a lot of people taking a left. And by changing it from a left only and a through right, those volumes actually balance out more where the queues aren't going to be shifted to one specific lane. They're going to be more balanced. Along with that, we're trying to pinch the intersection down. So one thing you'll see, a lot of the ramps today, pedestrian curb ramps, they're kind of called apex ramps. The one ramp is having both directions of travel. In this case, we're going to be separating them, and that in turn helps us decrease those distances. In terms of a capacity change, this is our metric for how traffic analysis is. It's based on delays per vehicle overall. In the mornings, what's expected with the school without any changes would be an F, and basically this approach being completely at capacity, not being able to clear, we'd be able to get that down to a level of service D in the mornings. That is a slight increase in delay from what it is today. Again, as Paul was saying, this is an issue that needs to be fixed, whether the school's happening or not, and this would have a huge benefit on what the traffic is doing today. Additionally with that, the reduction, as I was saying, is most seen in the left turn lanes. We'd be expecting to have delays of approximately 4 minutes without any improvements, and we'd be able to get that down to about 1 minute in the morning, peak hours, and then in the evening, that would be reduced to less than 1 minute. So that's kind of the big improvement, is really capacity. This intersection is a bottleneck that doesn't allow vehicles to move through because it's Route 62. You have a lot of through traffic and you need to accommodate it. So this was our approach to try to balance the conflicting volumes. The next intersection, Middlesex Ave and Salem Street, is very interesting. I did some homework on this intersection to try to figure out why it was designed like this. And I found that this was pretty much designed in probably the 50s, back when 93 was being built. So I like to think that we've learned a lot of things about safety and about traffic since then. So it's just kind of interesting to kind of see what was there before and look at it now. Likewise, we observed this intersection in the mornings and the evenings. The first thing that kind of jumps out at me as a traffic engineer is kind of the wide lanes, especially as you're coming down this direction. This essentially has enough width for 2 through lanes if you really wanted it to be, but it acts as 1. In traffic, what I see is the potential for speeding. And I think that's exactly one of the big issues that we have out there right now because of that. In addition to that, I would say that the configuration of these islands it kind of makes it's confusing to navigate. I know I was confused my first time there, and it increases conflict points where you're crossing traffic in a lot of different ways. You're crossing traffic here, waiting, and then crossing again 2 more lanes to move through. The last kind of thing on this slide is just talking about the geometry that, your vehicle's pointed this way and you have a very tight radius to go here. I said this intersection was built, 60, 70 years ago. It is not designed for the vehicles we have today. It's not designed for large trucks. probably buses, landscape vehicles, all things like that.
I like the challenge.
Because we saw so many things, we had a second slide. So some other key issues, and this is from our observations. Like I said, in the mornings, our issues is at the signal. In the evenings, our issues are kind of more at this intersection in terms of capacity and getting vehicles through. In this case, they're moving away from 93, and a lot of people here are trying to take this left turn. Of course, when people are speeding down, this road going southbound, it's not helping. So with that, you have a lot of cars that queue up here, and you're not allowed to go through. Likewise, you have, this car right here had a very nice honk as I was taking a picture of them. It was not appreciated. And lastly, talking about accommodations, there are no real pedestrian accommodations. Looking back, I'll say there is one crosswalk that is right around here, right? And if you're going to the school from this direction, you would have to go all the way down, up and around. So for our design, it did kind of, I know that the niche study, the original traffic study from the school did identify a roundabout as an alternative. I think when we looked at it, it really jumped out at us as well. Some of the big points is that with this roundabout, it itself is a traffic calming measure. You cannot go, in a straight line through this. With this, we design it to have, an operating speed of, say, 25 miles an hour. And in which case, there'd be enough deflection where you'd have to slow down going into it. And with the circulating speed, you couldn't gain more speed. So that would be the lowering speeds. The other really big thing that I think, and this is very challenging for a lot of roundabouts, is space. This roundabout fits fully inside the existing footprint, and that would not require property takings. There would be easements in terms of matching to driveways, but for the most part, the large majority of it would be within the footprint, and we'd be actually restoring more green space. The sidewalks that are shown here today on both sides here, that's just meeting the existing for the sake of having more separation from the road. Another thing, obviously, with the left-turning vehicles, you kind of have a continuous flow. You'd be able to move a little more freely. If a lot of people are going, say, southbound, this northbound gets pretty free, and they can continue flowing. From the capacity perspective, under the no build condition, if there's no improvements, this would be at a level of service F, that left turn lane, and this northbound approach would improve to a level of service C. Lastly, I would say the other big takeaway is that we can provide our pedestrian accommodations on all sides of the crosswalk of the roundabout. The idea here is that we don't just want to provide the accommodations, but try to make them as safe as possible. These crosswalks are pretty much the minimal length that they can probably be in a roundabout, probably about as wide as the pavement, which is 15 to 18 feet. If you think about that versus a signal that's currently 110, it's a lot more comfortable to walk through. So I think the big takeaway, and Paul kind of alluded to it, is that this is not the final design. This is really one of the first steps. This is not even this is looking to get feedback before addressing a preliminary design. As Paul said, there'd be a 3-week comment period in which comments would be due by July 14th. It can be submitted to the town engineer or sent by regular mail or email. Once we have the comment periods closed, Paul and VAI will be meeting, and we will be kind of discussing all the different comments to see, what's good and what's bad. The plan moving forward, once we address any comments, would be to finalize a preliminary plan set. That would be having a cost estimate, full design plans, pavement markings, everything, by the end of the summer. And then the timeline kind of progresses where final design and cost estimate would be by late fall of this year, construction documents by early next year. Paul can speak to the annual town meeting, but including, yep.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. So we would have a budget figure for the Finance Committee in advance of town meeting, and look to include funding for construction on the warrant for annual town meeting 27, commencing construction in late summer or early fall if or when those funds would be available. We'd also be exploring grant opportunities as well if we're eligible for them through the state, which I'm not sure the status of that. But everything would be on the table as far as that's concerned, and minimizing the impact to the local tax levy. Before we sum up and ask questions, I do want to give Mr. McGaldy an opportunity to speak if you have any thing to add.
Thank you, Paul. I guess Jamie McGaldy, Public Works Director, for the folks in the audience. I guess just to add on that, there's no denying there's going to be an increase in traffic with the new school. We knew that. So it's a very unique site. We know Wilmington doesn't have a roundabout yet. It's new to Wilmington. We explored something similar at the Glen Road and Middlesex Ave intersection, if you recall, about 15 years ago. A roundabout there. Intersection with Wildwood Street was the preferred option. Due to some discussions at that time with the Public Safety Department, namely the Fire Department, it was recommended that we go to a traffic signal. And you might be asking yourself, why are we then reconsidering a roundabout at this location? It's really site-specific. People that aren't familiar with Wilmington, if you were to drive through and go to what we call Harriman's Corner at the intersection of Salem Street and Middlesex Ave, you really don't know how to navigate that, but it's as close to a roundabout now as we probably have. It really, there's available space there to accommodate a roundabout, like Stefan said, so it was really a no-brainer for us to at least try to throw a concept in there and see how that works. Another comment is, I use this route on my commute, both AM and PM, and sometimes it flows well when school's in session, and noticeably in the afternoon it's tough. But I can tell you, this will not solve the problem when 93 South backs up and everyone's Waze app is taking them through Wilmington. That would be a situation similar to like when a levee breaks and the floodwaters let out. There is really no way for us to control that. I'm telling you that because I do not want anyone to think that this is a magic wand project and is going to solve every type of traffic situation we have. But and sometimes in traffic engineering, we have to do what we think is best given most situations, and we do believe that this is it. And then lastly, and Eric touched upon this, as did Judy O'Connell at the Springtown meeting, improvements to these two intersections were really on our long-term radar anyway. If you've been following traffic projects in Wilmington, you know that we redid the intersection of Glen and Middlesex 15 years ago. We redid Federal Hill about 5 or 6 years ago. We're just off of redoing Shawshene and Hopkins Street. All those intersections look fantastic. And so these were really one of the last two town-owned intersections to get on our radar, and we simply just accelerated it to the front burner because of the school project. So we do have a placeholder right now in our FY28 capital plan that was presented last year at our Finance Committee meeting. So we're gearing up and getting ready to take this project on. Thank you.
So with that, thank you for your time this evening, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that the board may have or members of the community. Thank you.
We'll open it up to the board.
On the 62 High Street area, with the reconfiguration of the lights and everything, did Princeton, when Princeton agreed to build there, didn't they agree to put a new set of lights up in that area?
Change the lights from the incandescent bulbs to LED.
Oh, that's all it was?
Yeah, that backplates and on the signals themselves, like the yellow borders.
Yep.
The problem that they ran into there was that because the poles, the infrastructure is so antiquated, no structural engineer could verify or confirm that the cables could withstand any additional weight. So from a safety standpoint, they had that condition, I do believe, amended in their decision. And likewise about a video detection. What happened was with the video detection, there was a pretty public appeal of that project that was going on for a couple of years at least. So DPW ended up installing camera detection at the intersection, and I do believe the decision was amended that they would provide a monetary contribution then in lieu of putting the, taking down a new video detection and,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of comments. One, now 62 is a state highway, so it wouldn't be,
So the
I can
right-of-way
answer,
of 62 ends right before our project, approximately right here. From here on out, it is actually town-owned.
okay, and I heard a comment from Mr. McGaldy, he said, well, taxes are going up, are we looking at a Prop 2.5 override for this? Or is this something that would be covered under our levy? Or is it proposed anyway?
Yeah, I mean, good question. So we're still in the preliminary phases. We do have a placeholder of $2.3 million in our capital plan for this project, and we'll fine-tune that cost as we get closer. And of course, as we always do with any project, we explore any sort of grant opportunity or supplemental funding, maybe through the state, that we might be eligible for at the time.
Thank you.
But to more specifically answer your question, there's not a Prop 2.5 override contemplated for this.
Okay, no, because like I said, I heard the words, the taxes are going up, so I'm thinking, okay, is
I
that?
think what you're saying is we're hoping to not have the taxes go up, not have an impact to the levy
Right.
by getting some grants.
I appreciate that.
Just a couple questions. On the increase in volume, on that, I think it's the first page or whatever, you mentioned that the bus trips, I know that they're 12 and 10, but the number of buses will increase, right?
Not from my understanding. My understanding, through meeting with the Director of Transportation, is that there's the current school, right now, the buses serve both the Woburn Street School and the North Intermediate School. So there is actually no increase or reduction to bus trips expected.
No trips, but what I'm saying is if you have 10 buses going to the north today and 10 buses going to the Woburn Street, you're gonna have 20 buses in total going to the north.
It's the same bus.
It's the same bus. The 10 to go to the Woburn go to the north.
Oh, they go to the,
They
okay.
mix
they
Yeah,
go-
yeah.
Same
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's why they
go to.
That's how they do, it. Okay, I get it. So they don't drop them off separate times, they're the same, okay. And did you contemplate going left out of the north, onto Ballardvale, and then on 125, and then Andover Street? Is that an access for buses to eliminate traffic that way, or was that considered, or no? Is that,
I don't believe so, no.
and then the other question I have on the Middlesex Ave and 62, the High Street one. On High Street, I noticed that there's a dedicated right-hand turn being put in. Should that be longer? I mean, it seems like it's awfully short.
So my understanding is that's an existing condition, so that's out there today. Looking at that, we didn't really have a different perspective on it yet, but that's something we can certainly look at to see if there's something to modify. lane widening is not easy, is kind of the balance of this job with right-of-way and property impacts. So we haven't taken a good look at that yet in terms of doing something different, but it's something we can look at.
Yeah, it almost seems like it should be longer going down,
What are you talking about?
like this right here.
Oh, the
Taking the
right
right
turn.
turn.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
right
right there,
turn.
yeah.
It's like two
Because there is
Got like
land,
two
there
cars
is
right
land
now.
over there. I don't think it belongs to the
Afraid if you
neighbors.
go over the curb.
And then on the dedicated left-hand turn, so you look at it, that seems to be the best way, huh? Because I'm thinking that's gonna cause a lot of frustration with a dedicated left rather than going right. Because then you go to a single lane in the back, right, with the yellowing, yeah.
So it's kind of like how far do you chase it in terms of going down Middlesex Ave? And it's kind of like I said, it's a balance really between how much you want to try to improve traffic and how much do you want to kind of impact the residents. Because this is an existing issue, it's kind of a problem that, we could probably do this all the way down Middlesex Ave, and
No,
it's.
I guess what I'm saying is, you're the expert, you figure going left dedicated is quicker and getting the cars, in my mind, going right, doing the right-hand turn and keeping the left and straight, it seems to be,
I think the problem is that the left guys can't get across the intersection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so today,
Oh, yeah.
these movements, let's go back a slide. These movements happen all at the same time, the lefts and the throughs. And the issue that happens is that, one car here is gonna cause these cars to queue up and not be able to make that left turn until they make their left turn. And from a volume perspective, left turns have a larger impact on your capacity than your through movements or your right, just because they take more time to go through an intersection. So with that kind of change, we're trying to, because the left turn is the critical volume coming out of Middlesex Ave, we're trying to prioritize that.
is there land taking over here?
Good question. We are currently, I do expect there will be, at the very least, easements that would be necessary to implement this. We're just not far enough along in the concept phase. But looking at it, it seemed like there potentially 3 properties that could be, their frontages could be impacted. When we get feedback and look at it, and if we have the support to advance these concept plans, at that point, then we can get actual, okay, how much of a impact is this going to be along someone's frontage? On the surface, it didn't look like there was any large obstacles to overcome there, like as far as occupation is concerned, like sometimes you'll see really decorative stone walls or retaining walls or large grade changes that would certainly be difficult then to do a lane widening into. It's almost, I don't want to say teed up for it, but it seems like it could be accommodating for those types of lane widenings, for this type of lane widening. And certainly when we advance to the preliminary stage, we would do an outreach to those 3 residents to start the discussions very early on as far as what the project would entail.
And just to expand on that, because it's a hot topic tonight, utility poles. So this is not touching utility poles. The utility poles are on this side of the road, and they're going to be proposed to remain as is. And that's kind of one of the key drivers. It's a difficult task to deal with utilities in a project. So we kind of knew that looking at this and said, this is the preferable direction to try to do that lane widening.
And there's sidewalk all along there, right?
Yes. Yeah, so this gray is the realigned sidewalk.
Yeah. And then I'm sure I know the answer to this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. On the roundabout, there's a veterans monument there that will be placed in the middle of the roundabout, I would assume.
That's the
and
proposed,
decorative-
yeah.
Decorative.
Exactly, yeah. One of the comments back from the fire department was ensuring that they had line of sight, continue to have line of sight through the unconventional roundabout as they have today in the proposed condition. And when we reviewed that with Chief Kavanaugh, we talked about the potential of relocating that monument in the center and maybe some low-lying shrubs, and he said that wouldn't be a problem as long as they're not, if it's not impacting his line of sight now, it's not going to impact it in the future.
Thanks. And I think there's some people here that want to make, maybe ask some questions. Oh, yes.
I just wanted to say one thing, and I think this is just to clarify for folks who may be thinking about asking the question. For purposes of the proposed roundabout, there were other alternatives that were looked at, right? Like a T-stop and a light that didn't improve the traffic as much as a roundabout did. Is that
Correct, yeah. When we looked at the T intersection, signalization, I think, would be expected at that. It would pass the warrant for signalization. And if you look at how close the lights are, and Stefan, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's less than a quarter of a mile to this intersection with High Street. It's less than a half mile to the lights at Route 93. And then you think about the school entrances that are a few hundred feet away. It would, I think, cause some pretty significant delays. What I like about this roundabout is what Stefan alluded to, is it's designed to keep traffic flowing, but at a slower rate of speed. So it's traffic calming, but also designed to keep traffic moving through the intersection as it is today.
Thank you for clearing.
Yeah.
Questions? Anyone? Comments? Questions? Sure, just come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Robert Drown. I'm at 482 Middlesex Ave. Really, the two things that I would like to see in that intersection area, and I do support, and Paul came out and met with a number of us, is that the speed in which people travel through that intersection and the disregard for the existing crosswalk. Unfortunately, several years ago, my son was struck by a car at the crosswalk that currently exists at the crossing Salem. And so what we would like to see, obviously, is things to slow down. I can tell you, when it gets rainy like this, the young guys with their cars will drift around that curb. I've heard plenty of colorful language of people not knowing which individual has the right of way. So the crosswalks, I would love to see some type of signaling, or that the crosswalks be raised. I understand it has an impact with DPW and plowing and snow removal. I think snow removal is going to be another issue at this. I know you can see my house in the satellite image. My front yard collects all the snow that comes off of Salem and parts of Middlesex in the existing kind of triangular circle that we currently have. So again, really just slowing traffic down through there because people come off of Salem down to Middlesex, and it's like they're trying to take off. But I'm in support of what we have here to address it because it is a significant problem. Thank you.
Thank you. And to that comment, and I did have it written down, electronic signaling. We're going to have that here.
We have flashing beacons, or we?
Yeah.
Appreciate the comments. So the town, I think we have 9 RRFB crosswalk signals now. We typically have those at mid-block crosswalks. And I think Stefan can support me in saying that typically with a roundabout, you don't typically see an electric crosswalk sign because there's so many other visual cues as you're entering a roundabout that you want to pay attention to for traffic calming, that an increased electric flashing sign then would sometimes generally add to the confusion, so that's why you don't typically see them at roundabouts. Roundabouts like this are very popular in southern New Hampshire. Mass DOT, talking about snow removal, New Hampshire DOT rather takes their snow removal extremely seriously. And if New Hampshire can do it with their snow removal, I think Wilmington can do it because we are far better than New Hampshire. But back to the crosswalks, I definitely hear you about raised crosswalks. We are also concerned about pedestrian crossings, but we feel that a traffic calming and combined with crosswalks in this sort of a configuration will drastically help. Again, it's open public comment period, and it's very early on. My experience with raised crosswalks is that they tend to collect water because now you have drainage issues, which will cause water to pocket. I'm a little concerned about that in the snow and ice weather. Not ruling it out, but generally speaking, what you would see is just an at-grade crosswalk with high-vis signage, non-electric. And another reason for that is we're only trying to propose those in locations in town where they're absolutely necessary, because they do add to maintenance costs. Does not mean that we could not add them at a later date, but for the preliminary concept, that's what we're thinking.
Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to follow up on what the gentleman said earlier, which is, I live in Melrose. Their intersection was very similar to this in Melrose. There was a three-way intersection, it was very confusing, and they put in a roundabout that's almost identical to this one. And the difference in the way that the traffic flows through that area is marked. I mean, it's much safer. It's much safer for the pedestrians. It's close to a school, so like there's a lot of kids walking through that area. If anybody wants to drive to Melrose, it's on Green Street. It's a very nice little roundabout. But it's got the brick there that allows for fire trucks to get around without widening the lanes artificially so that the folks in cars don't drive on the bricks. It's a really, I think this concept is a really good idea because I've seen it work, so.
Yes, there was a bunch of hands. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Laura Schulte, and I want to go after Robert because we hang out at the bus stop. So I live at 20 Frederick Drive, and our bus stop is basically at the end of this picture on Salem Street. And I really hope that this is a traffic calming solution, and I hope that we can find ways to slow people down, because I can tell you what we see at that bus stop, at the crosswalk, I mean. I've seen kids dart in front of cars that are coming because they're trying to beat it. I've seen 10-plus cars drive past kids at the crosswalk, not stopping for them. I've seen Robert's wife, Michelle, step into the crosswalk trying to stop cars, and cars go around her. And someone was talking about, the policeman was talking about the packs of bicyclists at the end of the school day, and they will come and they will go in a big cluster, and sometimes there's another one that's just behind them, and he thinks it's safe for him to go, and then the car that starts to go sees them, luckily, but it's really dangerous, and I just hope there is something. We're talking a lot about calming the traffic, and it seems to be all about keeping the flow of traffic, but I really want to focus on our kids walking to school, because there's going to be more kids, there's going to be younger kids. Okay, that said, also, I just wanted to ask about the sidewalk on the right side. I just want to know what the idea is for that, because there's no sidewalk on either end of it. So, anyway, thank you.
So the intent of that is really, there's only so many houses that are on the side of Middlesex Ave, but if they did want to walk and they currently don't have a sidewalk, they can at least walk to the roundabout and actually cross at this location. It's kind of a sense of, if we wanted to have a larger sidewalk project that connected farther down or connected on the other side of the school, that can be done. The infrastructure is there.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a little bit, we had discussed this. We had discussed this with VAI and whether or not, because that you could take it or leave it. You don't have to have this sidewalk in here. But if you look at this edge of the sidewalk where it's aligned now, it's along what I call the fog line of the roadway. So it's within the footprint, the existing paved footprint. And I think what it does too is allows for future flexibility if there was a sidewalk extension, in the future, and then and provides access all the way around. And we also discussed as far as future accommodations, that right now there's no bike lanes in this area on Salem Street, Middlesex Ave. But this space here, this green space in between the sidewalks and the curb does allow for future expansion of that if those routes become available in the future. So we won't be pigeonholed. We're allowing for design flexibility for future uses, multimodal uses, and expansion.
Thank you. Yeah. Go ahead.
My name is Mary Aruda, and I'm a 42-year resident of Salem Street, so I've seen a lot of changes over the years. And I'm curious if you looked at any of the accident data. I was a little disappointed to hear about there wouldn't be any changes at Cunningham Street and Salem Street, because I live one house down from there. And I can tell you that it's not just the volume, but it's the speed. And all those people coming down to Middlesex, they're all speeding down there. And over the years, there have been multiple crashes. We have a mailbox that has not only our street number on it, but a sign that says "hit me" for the number of times we've replaced it over the years from accidents. So I know that kids have been hit on bikes on the sidewalks. So again, I would just, if following the theme here, that there have been multiple, I know, and the police too would know about the accidents that have occurred on Salem Street, and specifically at that Cunningham Street. You can barely get out to make a left on Cunningham onto Salem to go to Tewksbury. And I know over the years that with the Avalon Oaks on both ends of where we live, that increased. And now there must be, when you GPS how to get to Treehouse and Tewksbury, the cut-through from 93 must go right up Salem Street. So people are zooming to get there. It's the shortest way. So that's, I mean, again, I would hope that we could do something about dampening traffic volume and speed, because it's a speedway now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Yep, just. Yeah. Head right up to the mic.
Thank you. Joe Bolero from 300 Salem Street. If you look at the image, you'll see my house is in the center top, and you'll see my drive, which is over to the right, that enters onto this configuration that exists right now. I've been negotiating this area for, 20, 25 years. It is a mess, and it is problematic, and will be even more seriously problematic when we add all these numbers in that we are anticipating for the Wilmington Elementary School. I think the numbers are just too clinical. I think you'll see the congestion is going to be quite remarkable, so something had to be done. I'm not adverse to the plan. I have some concerns. I did voice them with Mr. Aluni at a meeting he was kind enough to have with me, and I will also repeat them during the comment time. My large concern is 300 Salem Street is over 300 years old. It doesn't suffer well with construction vehicle vibration. And all of this with the new Wilmington Elementary School and fixing this roadway and fixing up at Middlesex and Route 62 is going to be problematic for my house. Now, I know people have come and taken photographs and stuff and memorialized how it appears right now, but I can tell you there's going to be some damage. So that's a big concern I have. The other concern I have, and I did voice it to Mr. Aluni, is the traffic that currently exists at the intersection. Tractor trailers violate all the time. It's a nice shortcut from them, from 93, get off at 125, shoot by my house down to Tewksbury, and then back again. They do it all the time. In fact, one of them crossed my property. The operator passed out and caused some substantial damage. That was years ago. But it still happens. The other comment I have is the motorcycle groups that come from Tewksbury. I think that's going to be a big problem once we start with the school and the buses and the traffic and the kids and everything else. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, but it is a big problem. So those are my comments. Something had to be done, and I think this is probably a best solution. I've never been really in favor of roundabouts. I think they cause problems for aggressive drivers who are interested in getting on their way and entering into the roundabout. I think it'll be a problem, but I don't know how you're going to solve this issue without this type of reconfiguration. Could I have the slide of Route 62 in Middlesex? Thank you. The comment I have, and I did echo this to Mr. O'Looney, is taking a left from Route 62 onto Middlesex Ave is problematic for people who are not familiar with the roadway. That turn is counterintuitive. And if you're not from Wilmington and you haven't traveled that road, you have a tendency to turn into the wrong lane. So the suggestion was something be done to direct the traffic turning from that dedicated left onto Middlesex Ave. I think the suggestion was to dash the roadway so people will understand that it swings wide onto Middlesex. I think that's probably a great solution for that. I applaud Mr. Looney. He's obviously very skilled. We're lucky to have him. Those are my suggestions. I'm not adverse to it. Middlesex Ave is a mess. You know, it's a beautiful little road leading down to my house. It's a very scenic little drive, but it's really not comfortable with all the traffic. It gets really difficult to negotiate. But thank you for listening to me.
I agree with you. We're lucky to have Paul. I'm glad he's working on this.
Yes.
Just want to,
If you could just state your name and address.
sorry, Peter Osterhaven, 454 Middlesex Ave. At Joe's house is one of the crown jewels of Wilmington, and he does an excellent job maintaining it, and I live right near him. Certainly, I'm happy that he's my neighbor, and I live right next to Robert here. So I do have just a brief thing to read here, so I'll make it as fast as possible. I want to start by saying I support this project. The roundabout at Middlesex Avenue and Salem Street is a real improvement over the confusing set of islands there now. And I'm glad it's designed as a single lane with pedestrian refuge islands on every leg. Those are the right calls for safety. So I'm here in support with two specific requests. Because this roundabout will sit about 100 feet from a new pre-K through grade 5 school. Okay, so first a simple request. Build the crosswalks already shown in this concept as raised crosswalks. Speed tables with a gently curved, plow-friendly profile. Raised crossings, slow drivers right where they're looking left for a gap and most likely to miss a child stepping off the curb. And federal data credits them with cutting pedestrian crashes up to 45%. Designing that plow-friendly profile in now also answers Public Works winter maintenance concern before it becomes one. It's a small change at the cheapest possible moment. Second, look beyond the circle to the approaches. A roundabout calms traffic at the intersection, but drivers speed back up along the approach roads. And that's exactly where our youngest students will walk and cross on the way to school. The town's own traffic study confirmed this project increases traffic along the Middlesex and Salem corridor. So I'm asking the board to direct the design team to add speed tables on the approaches within the school zone, starting with Middlesex Ave extension. Because of past road adjustments, the extension is not part of Route 62 and is fully under town control, so Wilmington can act on it directly without state permitting. It's the fastest, lowest cost safety win available here. Salem Street should follow soon after, or during, preferably during. To keep our fire department whole, these can be built as speed cushions, which fire apparatus can straddle, and I'd encourage the town to pursue safe routes to school funding for the corridor work. Apparently that's a thing. I'd never heard of it before, safe routes to school. Are you guys familiar with it? It's a funding?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I never heard of it. I'm new to this. Okay. Children can't reliably judge a car's speed and distance, so the design has to do it for them. Building this in now costs little. Retrofitting after a child is hurt costs everything. Thank you. So my two asks in summation, this is short, I promise, are raise crosswalks at the roundabout, build the crossings already in the plan as speed tables with a sinusoidal plow-friendly profile, and speed tables on the approaches. Again, because Middlesex Ave wouldn't need the state permitting, we could get going on that first, but Salem Street should definitely have it as well. So, also, keep it single lane. Ask the board to commit that final design stays single lane. Multi-lane roundabouts are where crossings get dangerous for children.
Thank you.
Hi, you can hear me okay? My name is Ryan Hanlon. I live at 126 Salem Street. I don't know if you can bring up the map of Salem and Cunningham. So I'm not a wonderful public speaker, so I wrote down all my notes. You can actually see my house right above the word Salem Street. All right, so my driveway sits approximately 60 feet from Cunningham Street and intersection. Some of my neighbors I can see in this audience here. I was a little disappointed to not see a design for this intersection this evening. It places it directly inside the active functional throat and immediate queuing zone of the school traffic expansion. This geometry is an established documented hazard. In fact, when I moved here in 2017, I was told by the planning department to cut some of my trees back in order to see around the corner, which is conservation land, the land that is directly left, which is being told, I think we talked about this evening, that is some of the land that is going to be adjusted. I've already been in a motor vehicle accident, trying to pull out of my driveway. After that, I asked for a blind driveway sign. It's 30 miles per hour, that zone. Cars do not travel at that zone, at that speed. They travel around 45 miles per hour. And they use, as someone said, colorful language. I think this has completely failed. It only encourages drivers to cross into the other lane, the other direction lane, at high speeds to bypass the queue of either on Salem Street or someone pulling out of my driveway. During peak hours, when school is coming in, getting out, or when others are going to school, there's a routine backup of just 3 vehicles that can completely wall me out of my egress. It forces me to pull out blindly into active traffic. Just last week, a bus turning out of Cunningham and a bus on Salem Street that was blocking my driveway were forced to audibly stop and slam on their brakes in order to avoid a violent collision. I happened to be in my driveway at that point in time. Recently, a car in this zone also was forced to drive through my next door neighbor's fence onto their lawn to avoid a similar crash at 124 Salem Street, which is right above the circle dot, the yellow circle. And I think some of my neighbors here can attest to that. With the massive influx of school traffic, a passive warning sign is no longer enough. I would suggest decreasing the speed might be something. While I understand that you are trying to bring people to school, this is not something that is really working. I am saying this right now because I think that the town is now on formal notice of an existing dangerous structural conflict. Therefore, I am requesting that the blueprints by Vanasse and Associates upgrade this location to an enforceable regulatory setup, specifically a white keep clear pavement box covering the width of my driveway apron to the intersection, paired with a post-mounted do not block driveway regulatory sign. MUTCD standards explicitly allow towns to implement these tools at intersections where queues routinely block egress and compromise public safety. This is what's happening. Furthermore, because other properties along this corridor do not share this specific geometry or crash history, this is a site-specific safety remediation. It is not a sweeping precedent for everyone's driveway. I am physically submitting this statement to the town clerk to be entered into entirety into tonight's official public record, and I am asking for a direct confirmation from the board tonight that Vanasse and Associates will be instructed to integrate this clear zone into conceptual blueprints that I can see in the future. I asked this board to integrate this clear zone, directing the engineers to include this standard, a compliant tool right now, rather than using technical guidelines as a reason to delay hazards that are now on record. They are statistically happening, and they have happened for multiple years. These plans are currently in the initial conceptual stage. I understand this. I used to be an architect. But it is exactly why I'm demanding this action tonight. It's why I showed up. The initial design phase is precisely when site-specific hazards must be integrated into the project's baseline scope. If we wait, we will inevitably be told during future phases that the design is locked, the budget is finalized, and changes are too late or too costly. So please, drawing a keep clear box on a layout that maybe we could see this week or in the imminent future, which costs not much than a bucket of paint from the engineers, would not cost much at all. Thank you very much. Yes.
How you doing? My name is Ben Andrus. I live at 11 Scaltrito at the very end of Salem. The question I actually have is for the section of Middlesex, and the next comment I admit is going to be negative towards the residents who live on Middlesex between the intersection of Salem going down to High. Has there, my question is really to the engineering firm, was there any work done to take that roadway and make it an entirely a two-lane road all the way from the roundabout that you're proposing all the way down to High Street?
When we were looking at it, we were looking at isolated intersections, and I think, Paul, you can speak to how you were looking at maybe connecting. I think we were talking about paving potentially the two sections.
Repaving
that kind of middle section in between
corridor.
The two intersections.
Yeah, but there was no discussion on two lanes the entire.
Yeah,
corridor.
widening Middlesex basically to accommodate the amount of backup traffic that's constantly being an issue for that left-hand turn onto 62. Didn't know if that was a consideration, or if there's any evidence to support that would be a better choice, or wouldn't adversely impact that at all. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Ludik, 7 Lawn Street. My grandkids live on Beaumont, and so they are likely in 2 years from now to start cycling up to their first primary school place. So my first recommendation would be to extend the current planning to an approach plan that includes bicycle access to the school. And that is particularly, I think, important for the roundabout that's being proposed, but also for this corner over here. I live close to the new crossing on, what's it called, Woburn, and the little shopping center where it has just been modified, and there have been some cycling adaptations. In my view, not appropriate, but more can be done to make those crossings, including these ones, bike-friendly. And I think as we are looking into that at this point in time, this is an important issue. I strongly support the speed restrictions. I think that it should be possible for the roundabout to be considered part of the school zone, and therefore have a speed limit during the times that the kids are getting into school. And also, one thing I have seen to be very effective is to make pedestrian crossings priority. In other words, to put yield triangles just before the bike and pedestrian crossings around the roundabouts, so that the traffic knows that you have to stop there. That kind of reinforces the little bump that you also have in the street, and then the sign that should indicate that at this point in time when the kids go to school, pedestrians and bikes have priority, and the speed of cars should be limited to the 20 miles that I think is normal in these cases. The traffic circle itself, I think, has some ability to do some really good things for bikes as well, but that means separate from the pedestrians. You don't want to mix those two up. But there's, I think, just enough space to make that happen, and I would like to see a plan that incorporates bike safety in that particular circle.
I believe the intersection you're referring to is Lowell Street and Woburn Street.
Right.
So I'm referring to both sections. They require different measures. The roundabout is basically...
No, I'm talking about earlier when you said you want a description of the street. That was Lowell Street and Woburn Street.
Yes,
Just for clarification
that's
for
it.
people. Yeah.
I'm at Lawn, so close by there.
Yeah. Yes, good.
Hi, Jacqueline Santini, 38 Glen Road. I'm not opposed of any improvements. Living on Glen Road, when I first moved here, we did have a quaint intersection at the end, and then they put the light in. So that was an improvement. My issue is that there is a problem with being a cut-through. Salem Street's a cut-through, Glen Road is a cut-through, and I spoke to you earlier last month, and the problem did not get fixed. So the only thing that got changed was a new sign on the same side going from 62 to Silver Lake. You added an electrical sign. There already is enough signage on that side. There is no signage, hardly. There's one sign coming from Silver Lake the opposite way, which is the cut-through, and then the next only other sign of 25 miles an hour is at Hardin Ave. There is no other sign saying that it's 25 miles an hour going the opposite way. I live on a blind driveway, and I've gotten like the very rude comments, you know, beeping and everything else. You didn't fix the problem. And I don't understand why that, it's so logical. It's so logical. So now, when you went this new project, which I'm not opposed of, but like Ryan is saying, Cunningham is, it's a cut-through. It's a cut-through. If people are coming down Salem Street, they're gonna go on Cunningham, and they just are going way too fast, with all due respect to the police. I would love to see the reports of how many people are being stopped for speeding. It's getting out of control. And I don't understand why something is not being taken, you know, making that like first and foremost. Isn't that a public safety item, that, you know, the speeding is getting out of control, and that people in residents, Wilmington is a small town having, you know, it was a small community, you know, here. Now it's, you know, people just flying, you know, on these cut-throughs, and it's got to be taken serious, and I don't think it is. And I hope you, like, really take, you know, some time to look at Glen Road and figure out the signage. Like, there should maybe even, I propose, put like you can't, you know, go down, you know, they have them in Burlington. You can't, you know, go down Glen Road as a cut-through at certain hours of the day. You know, maybe that's, you know, just an idea that should be introduced. So hopefully you do something about the speeding in this town. Thank you.
Jeff Wood, 18 Frederick Drive. For the level of service to be at an F for both of these areas, what would it have taken to get to a level of service of an A? Because you're saying level of service F to D and then F to C, and we're going to be adding 2,000 more vehicles in at certain times of the day. So when you took a look at it all, why didn't A or B end up in there?
So from a traffic perspective, really what happens is it's conflicting vehicles, right? If north, south versus east and west, and those kind of movements going with each other. To have a level of service A in every approach of this intersection would be to like have a bridge of every single movement and making sure it flow free. It's just not possible with signals. That's why typically there's always going to be some range, because you have to stop every other movement of traffic, and that's delay. That's kind of what it's measuring, is that delay as you're sitting in red. How long does that queue get until you can go green again? So from that, again, because it's such an existing condition and it's going to get, there's going to be more traffic, we're trying to just mitigate that. So we're trying to bring that back, and that's kind of our primary metric, is looking at what is that delay per vehicle.
Okay, so, Mr. Kyra, I like your idea. For the new school, everybody come out, turn left.
Sorry, I have a question. I was not planning to speak tonight. Jennifer Theodos, 12 Longview Road. I'm on the other side of 62, where the 108 apartments are being built, and the railroad station, and of course, the train station. So I'm curious why there wasn't a broader look further down 62 of the traffic. Because I can tell you, I can't get out of Longview Road, and neither can anybody else. And we have 108 apartments going up, and we get stuck with the train. So I would like to ask that a broader look a broader view be looked at further down 62 of the traffic coming up to High Street. The speed limit if you come over the railroad tracks, you have Eli's, the speed limit changes to 30 miles an hour going up to the High Street lights. It's too fast. So again, I'm in agreement with all of this. It is about safety. It's about the safety for the kids coming out of that entire North Wilmington neighborhoods and having to maneuver these intersections. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tammy Stanford. I live on the corner of Salem and Cunningham Street. I was wondering if that slide could be brought back up, please. So I didn't come prepared. I scribbled a bunch of notes. I'll be quick. First of all, I wanted to ask, I came down to Town Hall early last week and asked for a copy of the traffic study that was done for all of these projects, but specifically for this corner. And I was told it would be emailed to me, and it never was. So I'm curious, how can residents get a hold of this study? I was told it was 750 pages and that I didn't want to read it, and I think I can make that decision for myself. I live right on the corner. If you're coming into end of Cunningham Street, at the stop sign, we live right on the left-hand side. And like Mary, we have not quite so long, but we bought our house here 30 years ago. And Cunningham Street was a nice, quiet little side street. And since the invention of, Waze and Google Maps, everybody knows how it's a cut through now. And Salem Street traffic has increased exponentially over the last few decades. And I think Mary mentioned the apartments, but also the huge amount of building that has gone on in Tewksbury and Billerica, where people are cutting through 93 to get down, get further away from 93 to get to their homes that way and to avoid traffic, both in the morning and the afternoon. So I'd like to know where and how I can get a hold of that traffic study, please.
I can answer that.
Okay.
Quickly.
Yeah, because I'm curious what data you looked at and what the sight lines that you
Sure.
were looking at that made a decision that only changed the place of a telephone pole at this intersection.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The traffic memo to support, now, again, we're at concept phase, okay? To support the concept phase, the final version is due this afternoon or tomorrow morning. And then I can email that to you. The
Okay.
traffic study for the school is already available.
Yeah.
And I can provide that to you as well, if you want to give me your email address.
Okay.
The sight lines I was talking about earlier, is you put this left turn pocket lane in, and you have cars queuing up on Salem Street in that left turn pocket lane, and then you have a vehicle on Cunningham Street also looking to turn left, there would be obstructing the view of oncoming traffic then traveling straight through on Salem Street. Can you see that? Yeah. So like if you had 5 or 6 cars queued up in that storage lane and you were waiting on Cunningham Street and then you're looking right, those cars that are stacked in that queue are going to block the sight distance of the car traveling, and this crick in the road and the speed, obviously, those also factor into it. So our first thought was, let's first see if it passed the warrant to do that, which it did, to put that left-hand storage. The next is to then evaluate that in a concept level and see what would reveal itself as far as the safety issue. So they kind of went hand in hand, and that's how we came to the decision to what improvements can we make out here that are safe, and that it wasn't only the utility pole, it was vegetation and things of that nature.
You're talking about vegetation on the corner past my neighbor, the neighbor who was just up here earlier.
That's correct, yeah. So I believe, Stefan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was identifying this area here.
Yeah, that's correct. And just to expand, when we kind of got our fresh eyes on it, our task was to look at that left turn lane pocket. And when we kind of looked at this, went out at the intersection, we did additional traffic counts at this intersection because it was not included as part of the school study. What we found is the driver behavior here shows very clearly that it is not easy to get out of Cunningham Street. in our memo, we have a picture, it's very common out there, where if someone's actually trying to make a turning movement here, they're not stopping at the stop bar, they're stopping in the middle of the crosswalk, right? So that,
Yes, I
and
know, I hear the brakes all day.
so that in itself is a safety issue, because they can't see, which is why in our memo, regardless of what happens, our overarching thing that we got out of this intersection is that the sight line should be addressed, so that people can, be able to safely come out of Cunningham Street, but also see if there is a queue on Salem Street for left turns, this should be cleared.
So the buses, when they pull out there, have a very hard time pulling out. Is that part of the reason why the telephone pole is the approach, like at the stop sign there, is there going to be the turn any widened so that they could?
There's no geometric improvements right now in the concept plan. The pole, I mentioned the pole because I've just noticed that when I'm coming down Cunningham Street and there's a sidewalk there too, if someone is walking along Salem Street and behind that pole, you don't see them until they're very close to the intersection. So I thought something that needed to be addressed.
I agree with it. It really is hard to see if a pedestrian is coming and waiting at that crosswalk and they can't see if they're crossing to see if someone's coming on Cunningham Street. The speed that cars come around that corner, and I know on Salem Street and Cunningham Street, all around town, everybody's going faster than they should be. But particularly that corner with not being able to change the sight lines much, is there any ideas about traffic calming? Like people come around that left hand, taking a left onto Cunningham Street, they come around on the opposite side of Cunningham Street. They come around so fast, they squeal coming around that corner. Like, so if you're going on Salem Street, you're taking a left onto Cunningham, they cut the corner so close that someone at the stop sign, the front of your car almost gets clipped, but you can't stop that far back because you can't see down the road. So I'm wondering if there's any plans on or if there could be plans about even just signage, something, people, and there's a bus stop right there. Kids are standing on that corner for not only the Wilmington schools, but also for the Shawshene Tech.
Sure. Yeah, so between the handful of residents that I met last week and from what I'm hearing tonight, we're hearing a lot about the speeding along that corridor of Salem Street. That's a comment that now we have as for our feedback period, and it's something that I think is going to be a collaborative discussion between the Director of Public Works, VAI, and the Police Department. See what makes sense, what makes sense and what we can implement. I don't have an answer for you right now along that corridor, but it's something that I can tell you I have it maybe 12 times on this page just from tonight's meeting. And with the residents that I met last week, it was like number one was on the list. So, yeah.
So along with that, I think that the numbers that you put up on the traffic, that's why I want to see the traffic study, the increase in the number of cars that are coming to the school in general, I think that someone else mentioned, I think that it might underestimate how many people actually driving their kids to school. In the mornings, when people are going, they cut through Cunningham Street to go to the north, and now that's going to be many more people coming that way around town to avoid the Middlesex and Route 62, and now the new roundabout. I think that there's a gross underestimate, big words are hard for me today. It's underestimated how many people are going to be using that as a cut through to get their kids to and from school. So again, I think that those numbers, I mean, that's my opinion. I think that the numbers might be lower than what reality is going to be. And let's see. This is more like, in general, I know that we're only a few abutters to these few intersections in town, but this is a quality of life issue. We have lived here, we've raised our young kids here, none of them can afford to buy a house now that they're out of college here. And our town is turned into a highway where, everybody else is coming through our town, cutting through our town, building in our town has taken precedence over the quality of life of the people that made Wilmington the wonderful place that it is to raise your kids. So I really hope that this intersection is not left out just because it's hard, just because it doesn't have the space, or it's not really obvious and easy to change traffic lights and to have a wide open space to put a roundabout, because there are so many people that walk around this corner, that bicycle back and forth around this corner, that live here. I couldn't get out of my own driveway on the side street for 5 whole minutes. I timed it last week. I just want to get in and out of my driveway. So, we can't really address the whole people being respectful of other people's quality of life in a meeting like this, but I appreciate you guys hearing me out, and I will let you know what my email is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Michelle Feeney, 5 Arlene Ave. I just have a comment I want to make. The town describes this project as a traffic improvement, but I think that label is misleading. This is a mitigation project made necessary by the decision to construct an oversized school facility that is expected to increase traffic volumes by 3 to 5 times the current levels in that residential area. An actual improvement would make traffic conditions better than they are today, and this project does not appear to accomplish that, given the impending volume increase. Instead, it's an attempt to prevent an already strained road network from descending into chronic congestion, dangerous backups, and unacceptable delays. The fact that these measures are being proposed at all is a 100% acknowledgement that the school building development itself will create substantial and foreseeable traffic problems. Residents deserve an honest discussion about what is occurring. The town is not investing in traffic improvements for the benefit of existing conditions. It is spending taxpayer dollars to mitigate the impending severe impacts of a project whose scale far exceeds what the current transportation and residential infrastructure can reasonably accommodate. Calling this, quote, an improvement, end of quote, obscures the reality. This is damage control. It is an effort to lessen the consequences of a future traffic crisis created by a school development that will fundamentally and negatively alter traffic patterns throughout the area. The question before the community is not whether these measures improve traffic, but whether they are sufficient to prevent the transportation failures that many residents believe are inevitable under the proposed plan. And why wasn't this research done beforehand? I've spoken up at multiple meetings asking for traffic studies to be done on all 3 proposed school options prior to a vote, but was told it couldn't be done until after a vote. How ludicrous. That information was critical and needed when residents were weighing all 3 proposed school options. And now this is where we are, backtracking after the fact. I believe that the reason that real traffic studies were not done beforehand was not due to the cost. Rather, I suspect that no traffic studies were done for each of the 3 school options because it would have provided tangible proof that this location was not suitable to accommodate close to 800 students and 7 grade levels of bus, car, and pedestrian traffic. I also believe that these traffic studies were not done beforehand because it negatively would have negatively affected the outcome of the school vote as the town heavily pushed this $200 million North Side Elementary School option. Our town deserved a proactive approach, not a reactionary one. And at the very least, we should be labeling these as traffic changes, not traffic improvements. Thank you.
I'd like to say something as well. Steve Barabee, 300R Salem Street. I live in the area near the school. And I guess my question is around the funding, because and why we are looking to have to pay for this again. It was mentioned that it was part of the original traffic study for the school. That Niche Engineering, I guess, did it. They would have put that into the funding into the school in terms of the project of the $173 million, I would expect. I would think also if they got things wrong, and obviously things are always off here and there, that's why there's a good 25% funding, soft dollars on top of it that makes it available for things like this. You know, when things are not understood to be correct or more money's needed or not, that's where you would get it from first, not go to the town for additional money. In this case, I'm here, I don't know how much was originally projected for it. Niche Engineering must have come up with something, but if they had it wrong, I would expect that it would come from the $45 million or so extra that's available for funding this thing and not come from an additional warrant. Obviously can't speak to the Cunningham one. I don't know if that would be part of this, but the other two certainly seem to be part of this and should come from that funding thing versus going to the town for additional money. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yep.
Christine Magucci, 55 Cunningham Street. I have a question about the Cunningham Street-Salem intersection there. Were any studies done to see the traffic flow and pattern on a daily basis during rush hour on Cunningham Street? Because as of right now, the street is used as a major cut-through. You can't get in and out of your driveway. You tell cars to slow down, they swear at you, they give you the finger. It's just become ridiculous over the past 30 years that we've lived in this town. So I was wondering if you guys sat out there and watched the traffic flow and the pattern and how many cars you noticed going back and forth.
So as part of our traffic memo that when we were brought in, as I said, this was not part of the school study, so this was something kind of completely new to the town in terms of looking at traffic. We did do traffic counts during the peak hours. In using what we had, we did what's called a traffic signal warrant analysis. So we're looking at all the different time periods and seeing what is the peak traffic in that area. In addition to that, that also includes a review of crash data. So we did look at that, and that is included in the memo.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Jeff Cohen, 18 Cobalt Street in Wilmington. Question and a comment. The question is, has there been any, did you look into the sight lines for any of the other streets that are entering Salem Street? And the comment was, I think you're underestimating the problems it's going to create at the intersection of Cunningham and Salem Street. It's already very bad, and it's only going to get worse with this school.
No other intersections west of Cunningham Street were looked at as part of the study. We focused on the 3 highest volume areas, intersections, like the top 3, what we considered.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you. Paul, thank you. Jamie, Stefan, thank you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
You're taking this project very seriously.
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You did a great job, thank you.
people.
For the traffic study?
Yes.
It's not over. Running around talking.
That's just why I did it.
Okay, we're going to continue on, folks, with the meeting. If you could keep the volume down. Hello? Could we
Thank you.
keep the volume down a bit? We're going to continue on with the meeting. Thank you. Okay, we're on to communications. The first memo we took care of under the...
Yes. So we actually already touched on the second memo as well, so this is regarding the School Street Middlesex Ave poll concerns. As I mentioned during the public hearing for the Salem Street polls, we have thus far been unsuccessful in reaching Comcast about getting a timeline for when that project is done. That being said, as I mentioned, I'm going to reach out to KP and see if I can find another, and continue to talk to RMLD, see if I can get some contact at Comcast to at least get a timeline for when they're going to finish their work, so the ball would be in Verizon's court to take down move their wires and take down the double poles.
Thank you.
That's that communications, Chair.
Okay, on to board to consider. From our policies and procedures that we adopted at our last meeting, we have an election of vice chair that needs to be addressed. Number 6, board to consider. Okay, so I would look for nominations for vice chair. Oh my God, I saw your hand first.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate myself. And the reason being is that, not that it's me per se, but the former chair, number one, I think the former chair has dealt with the town manager more than the rest of the board for that previous year. And the other thing is, honestly, it takes kind of politics out of it, because it's not like there's if another member is the vice chair, does that mean that they'll be the chair next year? And again, I know we'll take a vote next year for a new chair, but the thing is that to me, it's kind of a perception that who's ever the vice chair would be the chair. And again, I'm kind of looking at, as you said last meeting, tradition, where the prior chair acted in the chair's stead when the chair was unavailable. So that's just my thought. I'd like to nominate myself.
Mr. Chair? I'd like to nominate myself. I don't believe it's political. I don't believe the vice chair automatically becomes chair or should be perceived to. The vice chair, like we said, doesn't have much of a role other than to back up the chair should the chair not be able to fulfill a commitment at the meeting or at some event.
Thank you. Yes, Mr.
Chair, I'd like to nominate Jake.
Okay. Jake, would you want to accept that?
I'm a little too busy, so thank you. But.
Okay, I have 2 nominations for this position. I will take them up. Mr. West was first to echo the nomination. So let's take a vote on Mr. West for vice chair. All those in favor of accepting Mr. West as vice chair, signify, raise your hand, please. We have 1. Okay. All right, now I'll take up Ms. Maselli, who also expressed interest in vice chair. All those in favor of Ms. Maselli for vice chair? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All right, on to public comments.
Are we swapping?
No, I don't think we need to do anything like that.
Okay, we're on public comments. Is there anybody for that?
I'll make a quick, Rob Fasulo, 28 Marjorie Road. We just heard a really
interesting set of comments there. I know that they said that there was going to be a comment period. I hope that you guys listened to what they said. Certainly sounds like speed's a big issue down there. It's easily solved. Raised crosswalks seem to be a no-brainer. So I hope you guys take into account what they said. I'm going to challenge you guys again. And I'm only here tonight because you guys are going on to a 1-month schedule. And sometime in the next few weeks, we have a new gateway opening to Wilmington. And that gateway is going to be the new Boston Street Bridge. The mayor of Woburn had a press conference recently where he announced that Massport was opening up 6 acres of land. They're going to be putting another 400 units on the Woburn side of the new Boston Street Bridge. You're smiling, you know where I'm going. We have the old landscaping place that's ripe. It's getting ready to go. That's next to the already 500 units that were built. We have a massive amount of people moving into that part of Woburn. The new bridge has pedestrian access to the Wilmington side of that bridge. So it's only a matter of time before Woburn starts renovating or redeveloping that side of the bridge. Wilmington has a fantastic opportunity here by rezoning Industrial Way to something that we can be proud of, that the residents can use, that pedestrians, there's going to be thousands of new residents that are going to be within walking distance of Industrial Way. I'm going to challenge you guys through the Economic Development Committee, through the Planning Department, move quickly on being able to redevelop that area to something where we can have retail and we can have something that the town can actually benefit from, and we can raise the commercial tax base compared to what it is now. We have a lot of empty warehouses there that aren't doing much of anything. So with the short period of time that we have before that bridge opens, I'm not expecting it's going to get done quickly, but at least keep it on your radar. Like I said, through the Economic Development Committee, I've attended a couple of the meetings. I haven't really heard much discussion about that bridge, and it's a new beginning for that area of town, so please just keep it in mind, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. On to announcements. Does anybody have anything for announcements? No? Seeing none. New business?
I got a couple.
Okay.
Speaking of the Economic Development Committee, so our meeting last week on Tuesday, the committee voted on a couple things to recommend to the select board. The first one was, if you remember, Mr. McCoy came in front of us about the alcohol hours, so we re-looked at it. Looks like everybody else around us has already moved to 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday. Obviously can't change Sunday from 10. So they voted unanimously to recommend that we adopt that change, so start at 8 a.m., which I personally agree with, but so if we can put that on the agenda.
I think we already
did.
We're already planning on do that on the
Yeah,
we're
doing
doing a public hearing with
They
them,
already,
I think.
they already instructed the town manager.
Yes, I've been.
Speaking of what Mr. Fasula was talking about, so one thing we are working on the committee, myself and Suzanne Sullivan, and I've been meeting with Valerie Gingrich, is about changing some of the zoning and industrial specific to like Industrial Way and Ames Street around there, because general industrial right now is pretty restrictive. And most other towns, like Billerica did this back in October, they completely changed their use table. And there's like, I won't get into it, but there's a really big, there's a lot of updates we need to do to the zoning bylaws, and Valerie would tell you this if she was here. But in the interim, for the town meeting coming up, we are looking to specifically change, the area that he talked about, general industrial way, Ames Street, that way, because of all the new housing units and everything else over there. But the last one, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up. The committee, although myself and Valerie abstained from the vote, did vote unanimously to suggest that we call a special town meeting for a moratorium on data centers in
Mr. Chair, can I add to that?
Yes.
I was, just on the data centers, I think it would be helpful to the residents to maybe have Val come here, because I don't know if everybody's obviously, attended the economics, have her come here, kind of explain what the bylaw is today, maybe together, maybe this is a co-thing with the econ, explain what the changes would be. I know we're waiting on Mansfield because they've already done this and sent it over to the AG and stuff. But I just think we should maybe have an informational session on, where we stand today. Have we had any, buddy approach us for data centers? What's our infrastructure? We don't want it, obviously, but, would we even be able to support it? And then just maybe explain exactly what a data center is. And I say that just because a lot of us may know, what it is and all that stuff, but I think there's also, this is coming up fast, but I don't know that everybody actually understands what it is. So just maybe just educational so people actually know what we potentially could be voting for if we're gonna do a special town meeting, so they're just more informed, that's all. And I'm not opposed to any of that, so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any business? Thank you. Important dates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So through October 4th, we're continuing to have the farmers market at Town Common on Sundays from 10 to 1. Some important things for this week. June 24th, the 4th of July festivities begin with Fun on the 4th at Town Common. June 28th is the Family Day on Town Common. I'm sorry, June 27th is Family Day. June 28th is the spectacular fireworks. So please, everybody come on out to Fun on the 4th this week. I will be able to see it right out my window. It's going to be fun.
You invited all us, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. July 3rd, town offices will be closed to the celebration of the 4th of July, which is on a Saturday. We have a concert on the Common on July 8th at 6:30 p.m. Forever Fab. I'm not familiar with them, but it sounds great. July 13th is our next select board meeting here at Town Hall in the hearing room at 7 o'clock p.m. July 15th, there's a concert on the Common at 6:30 p.m. The Renaissance. July 22nd, the concert on the Common at 6:30 p.m. is Ball in the House. July 29th, the concert on the Common at 6:30 p.m., The Better Things. July 8th, brush drop-off at Old Main Street from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., and July 11th, brush drop-off at Old Main Street from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. In response to these, the concerts that started on the Common, I was reminded last week that in my job interview for this position, I mentioned that I had the select board in Townsend go out and grill burgers and hot dogs during a concert on the Common in Townsend. So,
Are you asking?
I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
Excuse me, Mr. Town Manager, but you have made a statement. So let's elaborate on that.
Well, it's something we should think about.
You're inviting us for hamburgers and hot dogs somewhere?
I'm inviting you to get behind the grill once your shoulder's better.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And those are our important dates. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Salute to service. Today goes out to John J. Jack Harding. Airman First Class John J. Jack Harding, United States Air Force, joined the service on August 9th, 1963 in Boston, Mass. As an aircraft mechanic, completed aircraft mechanic jet over 2 engines course, private vehicle driver, education program, and B-52G aircraft maintenance formalization training. Was assigned to the 42nd Organizational Maintenance Squadron, known as SAC, was separated from service honorably on August 8th, 1967, from Loring Air Force Base in Maine. Our thanks goes out to Jack. And that is it. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Mr. West, seconded by Mr. Palmer. All in favor, and good night.